She absolutely showed up. I know where you live, ATL. I'll come eat another steak. I just need to find the right buttons is the issue. What are the humans doing?
Do you think you're ready? Can you handle the truth? Or are you in denial and demanding more proof? They demonstrate in real time how they're spinning you lies, but no one pays attention, no one opens their eyes. They walk around like zombies with their head in the mobiles, signaling their virtues with a pic on their profile. Yeah. Signaling their virtues with a pic on their profile. So if you think you're ready and you don't need more proof, conspiracy deniers are denying the truth. They fabricate our problems and pretend to provide the best solution, but we all know they lie. They lied about the weapons and they lied about health. They lied about the fact that they're transferring the wealth. You should really notice how they're pushing the fear. Keep everybody terrified and not thinking clear. Yeah. Everybody's not thinking clear. Keep everybody terrified. Yeah, and not thinking. Keep everybody terrified and not thinking clear. When you do, you realize that this is a trick. It's getting really stupid now, they're taking the mic. Said, do you think you're ready? Can you handle the truth? Or are you in denial and demanding more proof? They demonstrate in real time how they're spinning you lies. No one pays attention, no one opens their eyes. They walk around like zombies with their head in the mobiles, signaling their virtues with a pic on their profile. Yeah. Signaling their virtues on their profile. Hey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sasquatch Shills at midnight 30. And that's the way it goes when there's East and West Coast involved. So we're just going to roll it right on out here. We have the lovely VP backstage, and I am going to pop her right out. How you doing?
Hello.
All right. So first question. What is VP for?
Oh, VP. Okay, so vegan patriot, obviously.
Right.
It's kind of like a long story, but like, I don't know if you know what happened last year, but a couple of videos came out and it was just a hot mess for me. So I kind of played with my name. I made myself like Vegene Patriothought, Vegetable Patricia. I was just basically messing with the acronym of my name. And then I just was like, you know what? I like VP. And I was just like, if people want to find me, they're not going to find me super easily. I kind of wanted some like privacy, I guess. And I just stuck with VP.
Well, YouTube is a very strange place to go for privacy. All right, we're going to pop this right on up here. This is for the whole intro bit that you saw. That's the whole purpose of that. And then I have to fix everything in the proper format. It goes there. All right, now everything's broken. Fantastic. Here we go. All right, so I've got a few bits that I do, right? First bit, I use bits and pieces of previous guest content where applicable to maintain the consistency of the show, right?
Okay.
This is Captain Curmudgeon. I don't always agree with what he has to say, but it always tickles me to hear him say it. There's about a
Okay.
3-4 minute video bit here that we're going to do. He does the intro monologues to my show. How do you like them apples? He uploads them to his channel, does the whole bit. You'll see. This one's actually a little bit different. He did something special today, folks. I really like this bit.
Yep, they're dead. After 3.5 days of wild-eyed speculation and some of the stupidest expert analysis we have ever heard anywhere on anything, they found the debris field from the missing submarine today, and by all appearances, Shazam, Shazam! It looks like the vehicle suffered a catastrophic loss of hull integrity and thus imploded, instantly killing the 5 people on board. Moral of the story? Well, there's 2 morals to the story, really. The first moral is Occam's razor always wins. When you're trying to explain an unexplained phenomenon and there's a screamingly obvious answer that comports with all of the known facts, that obvious answer is going to be correct well over 99% of the time. And the second moral is, despite 85 years of technological advances, despite the existence of real-time, global, worldwide communication, the news business is in no better shape today than it was on the day Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan went missing in July of 1937. In fact, it might be in demonstrably worse shape. But don't try telling that to the fake news performance artist community. What? Everybody else gets to be a community, so why the hell not them? They are united by their common inability to distinguish their asses from a hole in the ground. And look, I'm not even saying that the wild-eyed speculation and idiotic expert analysis was totally improper, but the way they did it was very much totally improper. They wanted a race against the clock, so they invented one. They wanted to make an exciting entertainment product, so they did. But nothing about this was news. Be under no illusions about that. Could they have accomplished the thing they wanted to and still abide?
All right, here's my concern with that whole submarine thing. It was submersible. Sorry, it wasn't quite a submarine. Apparently, a submarine is larger than what these multi-billionaires were going to the Titanic in. I think I might have held out for a submarine if I was that loaded, but that's just me. I like safety. Maybe mute by here one day, it'll be all right. I'll wait. But here's my point: when you have an explosive decompression or an at depth implosion, the water comes through the space so fast that it compresses the oxygen like inside a diesel engine. It's actually the compressed oxygen detonating that causes the sub to crack. It's not the pressure of the water. Wherever it cracked to start with, it would open just enough for the pressure to balance, and it would balance in 0.3 of a millisecond, so fast that the thoughts would be left standing there and not you. And as far as finding bodies, that's exceptionally unlikely because they're pretty much smeared all over the inside of that can. So they might be able to bring up pieces of the sub, but it's not going to be very fulfilling. And it would be, and I hate to say this, it would be a total waste of money and time. These people went down there, they signed releases saying they wanted to go down there, and that was their decision. And they trusted this individual to do it. And now we're in this case. We don't go get people who die on the way to Everest. Why would we go get people who die on the way to the Titanic? Just my opinion, and it might be unpopular, but it seems logical to me.
Word.
Wow. All right, so girls just want to have podcasts. The way this generally rolls is I'm going to stick this in the background. We're going to pop at some point in time through the middle of it and let it play for a few minutes while we discuss your general content. So I'm curious, right? Yeah, it's kind of a flashback, right?
Yeah, I love this video, actually. Yeah, this is a good one.
I pick out 3 videos. One is your most viewed video. One is your generally your most recent upload, and then your earliest available upload, earliest publicly available.
So like my first one that's available that's not
That's
private.
available
Yeah.
publicly. I don't go digging through other people's channels and trying to find your first sighting on YouTube or nothing like that. It's nothing weird.
Okay. Well, there's a lot of clips that have been taken down too. So like you would be missing a ton of the story. It's weird. Like the few that are left up, it's like,
yeah, no, it's obvious. It's obvious. There is so much more to this story. I compared it to a telenovela because I feel like I'm missing whole vast seasons of episodes. And I'm like, I was totally sitting in here the other day eating popcorn with like a audiobook in one ear and one of your old podcasts running. And I was sitting there eating popcorn and my wife walked in. She looked at me. She's like, "What?" I said, "I think they're fixing to break up."
Oh shit!
What are you watching? I was like, "Something for the channel. You wouldn't understand."
No, it's been like a soap opera. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty crazy because like I didn't want to be like public on stream, and then it just became my life.
Right. Well, that's part of the description is the fact that it went from being something you did occasionally, because in some of your earlier available podcasts that are streams that are available, you talk about how you didn't used to always do this crap, right? Like it wasn't. Right. You take a very energetic approach to content. You don't do I'm going to do an episode or I'm going to go find a video to none of that trash. You're going to go out there and you're going to find out what's happening right now, what's going on, why we're doing it, who's doing it, and who I'm going to do it to. I love it. Frankly, I mean, it's very bracing. It's a little blunt and it's more real than anything else you could find on TV, you know?
Sure.
Popcorn. What's happening next? I can't help it.
Dude, the most recent drama has been like, I can totally see that. I would say like earlier on though, I feel like I was more boring, but after the situation with my current boyfriend, like it has been like a soap opera. And if you bring in like Chicken Andy and Baked Alaska, there's, you know, there is, you're right. There's like loops. There's
very
interesting story.
Because I actually took a minute over here because I have no idea about any of it until I actually sat down and was like, wait a second. I recognize that guy. I can't remember his name, but I saw him in a video over here. And I had to go like cross-reference to figure out where I had seen this. And it was Baked Alaska. And I just recognized him, but I couldn't pinpoint where I'd seen him. And I was like, I recognize that guy. And it took me like a day and a half to be like, oh, wait, no, I know who that is. You know, but that's kind of one of the things it was Baked Alaska.
I was
one of the things I do is like YouTube lore is sort of an aspect of all this by going out and interviewing YouTubers when they're not at 500,000 subscribers. You know, most people want to go after the clout. They want to go look for the big channels. I don't got nothing against big channels. I just feel like I'm being realistic.
Yeah.
Like 5K, maybe 10, possibly, you know, anything after that, it gets real difficult to contact a creator because they're suddenly dealing with thousands of people that they're constantly coming out. And it's kind of hard to cut through that level of fog by going, by the way, I'm some imaginary creature on YouTube. How'd you like to have a chat? Don't fly well, man.
No, and two, I think it's like pretty important. Like I always considered myself a side character, you know, especially with Baked Alaska. And then of course, like the Chicken Andy stuff happened and like I became a main character, at least for IP2. So it is pretty interesting. You know, I think it's pretty cool that you're shedding light on like a more full picture instead of just like who's like it right now, you know, who's making the headlines, you know.
I don't see any reason at all in specifying any particular angle. I'm not involved. I don't know enough to pass any kind of judgment on anybody anywhere. And somebody was like, hey, check this channel out. maybe she'll do an interview. And I was like, okay. And like I said, like at first, I just kind of put it over in the corner of the screen and let it play, and was over here doing editing and YouTubery stuff and calling other people and whatnot. And it migrated from the corner of the screen over to my actual laptop where my chat usually is. It was sitting there, I wasn't doing nothing, but sitting there staring at it. I'm like, I really wish I knew what the hell was going on. I feel like I'm so much. I just, you know.
Honestly, like
I appreciate ACL
so
turning
many
me onto it,
videos.
because it is interesting. It's certainly riveting.
Well, I privated so many videos, and then like I left up the ones of me crying, and like that was probably like, I don't know if you're referring to that one, but like I feel like that was like, if I wasn't scripting that, I would think I was acting, because it was just so intense and so dramatic. And it was like, if anybody stepped in and walked in on that video, they'd be like, I can see that.
Well, I mean, some of it is just so bizarre. Some things are just so bizarre. And some of the conversations seem disjointed because obviously I'm just wandering in the middle of something that's been going on for quite some time. And while people seem to be unhappy with each other, they're not exactly foaming at the mouth and attacking yet. It does seem like that might be in the air somewhere, but I don't know, because I don't know enough about the situation to make a decision.
Sure. You just seen it come to a head and explosion. You haven't seen the steps leading up to it.
I caught, like I said, I watched one part of the tail end of one stream before you'd had your most recent hiatus, and then all of the very last one. But for most of that, I was in a very loud Waffle House trying to order, and they gave the order away twice. And so I had to stop everything and be like, no, you crazy crackers. I want my food. Stop giving it to other people. It's mine. You can't have it.
Word.
But yeah, it gets hectic sometimes. Snart.
Well, I'm glad I'm interesting enough that I captured your attention longer than a few seconds.
I mean, I hate to say this. I don't mean to be an asshole. I'm kind of easy to please when it comes to YouTubery. I largely am looking for people who are doing the thing, right? Whether you're uploading shorts, videos, live streams, however you want to do it. Got one dude who does live streams to upload his videos. However you want to do it, man. Do your thing, make your content, and share it with us. That's all I ask. If you have anything, and I mean this for anybody out there, there's anything that you do that you think is unusual, or maybe you do it better or in a different way from somebody else, film it, upload it. You never know. You never know what goes viral. You never know.
Well, that's the mind of a content creator, which I don't consider myself. I'm just somebody who's showing people my life.
You're a lifestyle vlogger.
Yeah, right. a vlogger or whatever you call it. Vlogger.
I'm talking straight out of the ancient days of YouTubery, lifestyle blogger. There are very few of those that are actually still around and still doing that. I'm impressed, quite frankly.
Oh, thank you. I don't think it's that hard. See, a lot of my streamer friends are scripters, or they have an agenda when they go out to stream, and like I'll have like themes or whatever, but I'm pretty much just like, here, this is me, this is what I'm doing, like come hang out, you know?
Right. And that's, to me, that's really the best way to be. Even once a channel gets monetized, I don't advise you to immediately go into the monetization, because depending on how an individual starts their channel, that may completely cripple their ability to make content.
Facts.
Like, my content is largely reliant on my guests' content.
Sure.
Right. So every single one of these shows is merely waiting to tick off a guest enough for them to report me for a re-upload, because the video that's up. That's why I mute them, right? You never know what someone else is going to put up. I also offer my show to my guests to be streaming while I'm making it, and to previous guests to restream it usually. I didn't do it this time because I know there's some weirdness over there associated with your channel. I'm not exactly sure how deeply it runs. I don't know. So rather than spreading it around in a weird ghetto syndication. I I just kind of skipped it this week because my guest didn't show up last week, and it left my ego bruised. So
Oh, that's annoying. That's such a waste of time.
Oh no, I always set up 2 shows every time so that if a guest doesn't show up, we can go straight into the After Dark, and it works. Which, by the way, tonight our After Dark is oh, it's really interesting. I vaguely remember now. Where's my freaking show clips? All right, I've got a full analysis of this particular submarine disaster. I have 5 extraordinary prehistoric moments locked in time forever by way of fossils that have been discovered recently, and the unfortunate truth about hydrogen V8 engines, and the terrifying truth about chimpanzees, why you don't want one as a pet. They will eat your face. Spoiler alert. If you don't believe me, go check out Travis the Chimp.
Oh my gosh. For real?
Travis the Chimp. They were, I have a theory on Travis. Travis murdered a woman pretty much. He shredded that lady. It was his keeper. And immediately before all of this happened, the vet that she had been operating through had been prescribing loads of Xanax and Valiums for Travis because he was kind of getting out of hand. He had gotten too strong to really manage, and so they were kind of keeping him doped up. The vet that she had been using changed businesses and was no longer writing her the scripts for the Valiums and Xanaxes. And can you imagine a chimp going through withdrawals? When I went through withdrawals, it almost killed me. It almost killed me. I had seizures. It was the whole 9 yards. Benzos are no joke.
Yeah, poor Chimp is right, Mr. Pickles.
Yeah, poor Chimp. I mean, no doubt. I mean, I'm not saying the Chimp was done right. I'm saying that a lot of people put the blame on the Chimp in the wrong way. It wasn't so much the Chimp that was having these problems as it was the handler's methods of keeping the Chimp calm.
Yeah, for sure.
Rather than trying to mitigate the things that stressed out the Chimp, they just doped him up. Just doped him up like a nutty patient. I hate those jackets that make you love yourself. Not a fan. So, where would you take your channel given the opportunity? If you woke up tomorrow and your last video you uploaded had 10 million views and you were the biggest thing since sliced bread, would you brand out in a standard YouTube fashion? What would you do?
Well, honestly, because I don't know if you know too much about the situation, but with my current boyfriend, he basically got me kicked out of my house. So I'm in the middle of moving and getting all that fun stuff done. We actually made a huge rule for any roommates, and we're not going to have a bunch of streamers over like I did at this place. No live streams in the house. Because there's callers, and if you get doxxed, which is what happened with me, you never know. Now, for me, my landlord really liked me. He didn't want to do what he did. It was just too many police reports to the house, and he was really good. He put in a really good word for me with the next landlords. I actually ended up going through 2 apartments before coming onto this one. But who knows if callers called in too, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm not doing any live streams in the house. If I do any live streams at all, and neither is my boyfriend, if I do any live streams at all, they're going to be maybe just the collabs that I normally would do with my friends. But before, I was like, yeah, man, if you're in town, you can come hang out with me. We can go stream. You see LD in this video playing right now. He ended up staying with me for 3 or 4 months. And that was fun. But he actually, it's not his fault, but Ski Mask Andy basically doxed me in the sake of getting LD out of my house. And then this stuff happened with Incel, and he put all this attention onto me, and my dox was out there. So it leaves you vulnerable to, my parents don't own a house. I'm not living in my parents' house. I work hard, I pay for my bills, you know, I have an apartment, I have a landlord. So
Yes,
I can't really fuck around with that shit. Excuse my French, but
I would suggest no, go hard on it. I don't give two
no.
fiddly fucks. It's up to you.
No,
You're
I'm very
things like
protective
now,
of what
stuff
I've
like that,
earned
yeah.
and what I work for, and the house is off limits at this point. So
I have a
I'm
tiny bit of advice on the streaming point, and this is something I've observed by being a troll for years. I retired from that life. I no longer do that stuff, and just don't tempt me. That's all I'm saying. I've tried real hard to stay on my straight and narrow, and there's some people out there testing me, but I'm letting it go because I'm a better man than all that now. I don't do drugs and I don't troll no more. We're good.
no
But
drugs.
I can't do it. Not
Oh my
one more day.
gosh.
I had to not do. I had to undo that thing. I treat it like the Paul Bunyan story, right? The way I quit drugs is I stopped doing drugs. The
Like cold
reason I
turkey.
became addicted, oh yeah. The
Yeah.
reason I became addicted was a lack of self-control to start with. So I could not taper myself off because I have a lack of self-control when involved with drugs. So I woke up when my hip fell back into place the way it was supposed to, and suddenly I wasn't in screaming pain every single day. I looked over at my wife and said, you know what? I really don't want to take these anymore. And she thought I was joking.
No,
Week later, she knew I wasn't.
no, I totally relate to that. I don't have like any addiction problems, so like I've never really understood the struggle. But when I'm done with something, like I cold turkey it and I just walk away from it, you know. So I actually relate to that a lot.
That's exactly how it's done. Paul Bunyan had a story about how he competed against all the other loggers and always won. So they decided to come up with a competition of doing nothing, and he made it 5 minutes. He could do anything but nothing. And that's what quitting drugs is like, is learning to do nothing.
Yeah.
Because anything you attempt to do, your drug-addled, addicted brain will turn it into a mechanism by which to get drugs. It is insane how effective and clever addiction is. It's wild.
Right.
I'm going to go get some milk from the store. How in the world did that happen? It's like I just went to the store. I did.
Right.
How? No. Why am I in jail? No. We're not doing this anymore. I'm not doing it. And that's the only way I ever could quit anything, was just to stop doing it. So,
Oh, dude, Funny IRL is in the chat.
Yeah,
Do you know who that is?
Not really.
Funny IRL is an awesome clipper.
Cool. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. He's in the chat.
I have a very eclectic fan base that's kind of hard to explain. They've been derived through the 200 and however many guests I've had. I pick up maybe 1 or 2 or 3 from each guest, and I don't generally get the ones that are assholes. Generally, it's the people who are like, I really appreciate you having so and so on. That was really cool, you know, and they show up. Sometimes they end up as mods.
Oh, that's great. But you're not part of the IP2 community, which is probably why. IP2 has so many haters and so many misogynists. It's like, if you get into my chat, that's pretty much half of my chat. It's just shit talkers.
I sat and watched your chat, and I commented a few times, but it seemed to be overwhelmingly negative, and I generally don't surround myself with negative people. And when things tend to go negative, I just tune it out. I don't accept those. Pardon the really, really hippy dippy approach, but I don't accept those vibrations into my space. I just don't do that. I'm
a free speech girl. So
yeah,
like,
me too.
I'm into the like you can voice your opinion thing. I would say with my chat, the sad part is there's so many hardcore trolls that the people that are nice don't feel comfortable exposing who they are and making a lot of comments because they're afraid of the trolls. So I actually have a lot of really amazing viewers. And even like when I was crying about my boyfriend, like, you know, I actually had an overwhelming amount of support, which very much surprised me because I had hundreds of people viewing that stream. Right. I thought I was going to get a lot more hate for that one, but it seemed like I touched people's emotional side or something because
the realness when things get scripted or too planned out, people can tell, even if they don't consciously realize that this doesn't quite smack true. There's something not quite straight about it or whatever. You can, it's like going to a cheap Italian restaurant. You know it the very second you taste the sauce.
Yep.
If it's not in the
Yeah.
sauce, you're going to miss the mark. And people may go back and watch it because there's something off about it, but that doesn't necessarily make it good, right?
Right. For sure. For sure. Well, honestly, like my boyfriend and I have totally different content, and he's been getting a lot of flack for pretty much scripting. He wasn't scripting being homeless, but he does keep coming back to me, which is what his viewers hate. So they pretty much abandoned him and they've stopped donating to him because they're like, oh, he's a complete scripter. It's not true, but he does kind of go with what he thinks chat's going to want him to do too a lot of the time. Whereas I'm, like you said, I kind of just, this is me, this is what's up. Like, you know, so we have very different, completely different styles of streaming.
Yes. Yes. I poked around in a few of the folks from over there, searched out a few names here and there, but it's such a wild ride to do stuff like that. And you can do it in any chat. And you'll find people crocheting, you'll find people with aquariums, folks with a turtle, and that's all that's on their channel is their turtle. That's it. They upload every day something about a turtle.
Or their dog or something. Yeah, totally.
Or a lizard, or yeah.
I love accounts like that though. Especially people, like, I think a lot of people too, they're shy, like I used to be, where it's like they don't want to be too exposed, so they do post kind of randomness. You know, it's like to say, hey, I'm here, but not necessarily like, hey, look at me. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I mean, YouTuber, all right, being a YouTuber at all, deciding one day that, hey, I'm going to take part of my life and place it on screen. I'm going to share it with the entire world. I analogize it to this. I feel like I'm worthy of being stalked, and I might as well make it as easy as possible for anybody who chooses to do so. So here's what I went about doing. I created a specific space in which I stream. I don't do it anywhere else under any other circumstances, which is why I bought a truck and I'm putting together a mobile stream rig so that I will have my own space to stream in.
Yeah.
On the road. Because that is one of the worst things, having a guest on, they go to walk through somewhere, they pick up their phone and step off into the bedroom and see their sex dungeon in the background. And suddenly you're like, well, this one's coming down.
Word, dude. No, honestly, like okay, you don't even know what my setup looks like right now, but like we're in the middle of moving. So like 90% of my shit's packed. I have this like super ghetto, like broken ring light, and it's like tied to my selfie stick that's also broken, and I'm just sitting here like, I hope this is sufficient. Like, you know, this is the cleanest you're gonna see like a backdrop right now for me. Like, I don't like, yeah.
All right, Ember's Mad World, take notes. This is how you do it. You're doing just fine, honey. You'll be just fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just take notes. This is what it takes. Dedication, the amount of dedication it takes to make the content happen. And whether it's a vlog or you're filming washing cars, it doesn't matter. It's the daily uploads, the constant attention to the channel, constantly paying attention to the details. That's what eventually gets you through the hump, you know? Yeah,
for sure. For sure. And some people, they have all their like crazy setups. I've never ever been like a big setup kind of a girl. I've always, well, when I started streaming, I was a political streamer. So I got used to like, especially for the riots and stuff, I had the phone in my hand. So basically when I started like openly streaming instead of just sending in stuff to like news channels, I was pretty much like, well, I'm not getting a selfie stick. Like, I don't need a selfie stick. And like,
right.
Chicken would get so mad about it, but I'm like,
do without a selfie stick. Like, I'd like to do some flybys on my truck. I can't do it. I ain't got a selfie stick.
right. Or like a drone or anything like that. Yeah. Come here, Bubba. Come here. Hi.
All right. So you've got a whole clique of folks that kind of roll with you in general. That's cool. I kind of dig your community in general because the people aren't blocked, I think maybe. You know, because most people, when they start catching a little smoke from chat, they'll just go whole hog, start blocking anybody with a negative opinion. Not a fan. I am a free speech advocate.
Right.
YouTube is not a free speech platform. I will
No.
permit anything to be said in chat, provided it does not risk my channel. You start trying to smoke my channel, and you will be boosted out of here so fast it'll make your head spin.
Right.
And it won't be me that did it. It'll be one of the mods.
Right. Yeah,
Although,
no, I kind of have a rule. There's a couple of things that I'm like, no doxing ever. Mods always have permission to ban. And I say ban, do not like timeout, like ban a doxer. You know, that's the big fat no-no for me. And then
I prefer for there to be a timeout on the first round, because in the event that there's a private joke nobody else knows, and maybe it was a little, like, maybe I personally know that guy and it was a little too spicy, I'll tell him it's a little too spicy.
for sure.
It'll probably work because I know him and I know where he lives.
For sure.
You know, I'm perfectly willing to call up his mom and be like, hey, you know, he's being too spicy on my YouTube channel, and she'll fix it.
Yo, I mean, but that's like an understanding. The number one thing I don't allow is the doxing is such a big no-no for me. It's like, you don't get second chances. You know what you're doing when you do that. Like, there's no question about that one to me.
Right.
No.
I don't even let guests dox themselves, even when they want to. Even like, and believe it or not, there are a lot of people who started their YouTube channel with their actual freaking name. And I'm like, no, don't just change your name, because it's still there. You just don't see it. Right. You have to nix that channel, start a new channel with the new name, and do some searches beforehand. Make sure nobody else is using it.
Connected anything.
Comes up as Kamala Harris. If you're trying to run shallow, run deep, run silent, and run deep, you're doing an amazing job of it. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
It took years before people started to know my real name, and the only reason they knew my real name is because I believe it was after Ski Mask doxed me, but like, it took years before everybody knew my real name, and now they do, because especially with like the jail thing and everything, like that got spread around, the attention was put there. But I mean, I think even after I maced my friend, even after all those videos came out like 2 years ago or whatever, like, nobody knew my real name, you know? And I think that I would have had like hate mail. I would have had like bad snipers come to my house, and I'm so grateful I went to my dogs back then. You know, I mean, the outrage was so big. It was like, dude, I'm so glad nobody knew my information then.
You know what my advice for that is? Let your haters be your motivators. If you're catching flack, it's because you're over the target. If they're getting handsy over there, it's because you're getting close to the reality of the situation. No matter how much smoke they throw over the field, just keep dropping them. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
They'll either get over it or die over it. And I don't give a diddly damn which one they do.
Right. Well, I said that too. I was like, dude, like, I'm not gonna, like, I wanted to stop streaming when the videos came out, but I was like, no, like, there's too many haters, and I'm just gonna like keep streaming. I don't care if it's good. I'm just gonna be around to like bother them, you know? Like, that was like basically my plan was like, I'm not going anywhere because you told me to go somewhere, and I don't want to be told what to do. So here I am. So I just kept streaming.
All right. So you've stepped away from streaming a couple of times, right?
Yeah, a few times, but like, this is the most concrete this time. Like, and I have more lines established. Before it was more like, oh, you know, I started streaming really because of Chicken, and then me and Chicken worked together, and I was like, okay, there's no point. And then it was like me and Incel, like, he loves to stream, and I wanted to kind of do that with him a little bit. And then it just got so intense and crazy. And it was just like, I don't want this. Like, this is too much.
I got my videos out of order. I don't know how I do it. It doesn't update proper sometimes. All right. So sometimes IP2 is it wrong. Is that
my God,
almost your earliest upload? I think there's one before that.
It might be
but
actually
the one before
the
it was
earliest.
really weird. I wasn't
earliest.
sure what it was, so I didn't want to use it because I have no idea what the hell that is.
That was a really fun one. I was before I had my chat phone, so I got this CD player, and I like played a bunch of like my punk bands, and like I just chilled and hung out with like I trimmed my dog's toenails because IB2 was like, oh, their toenails are too long, and I'm like, okay, IP2, like this is before I realized how vicious IP2 was, but I was like, okay, IP2 is not wrong. Like I'm
Which
gonna be
one is
like,
earlier is my question. Is it trial error or sometimes IP2 isn't wrong?
Trial Error is the newest one.
Okay, that's your most recent.
Yeah.
So girls just want to have podcasts. Is that the earliest live available?
No. The sometimes IP2 isn't wrong. It's probably that one, or there's one with like
Right. Okay. The only reason I ask is I have a bit that I do before I show any of these, right? And we're going to go into that right now. And the whole bit has to do with digging up the oldest something somebody has available because I'm a YouTube paleontologist.
You know about cars? Yes, I'm a paleontologist.
Oh, it's okay. There's dynamite in this bag too. I am a paleontologist.
I'm a paleontologist.
Paleontologists study really old stuff.
Like crackers.
Because bad movies are funny.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Some bad movies are absolutely excellent. On that note, I'm begging various YouTubers to get involved in my filming of Meth Gator. I've got this whole plot worked out, right? Yes, Meth Gator. He's going to attack a meth lab in Florida, right? And then go on a crazy tear. And then the whole movie is going to be around these tourists that go to Florida and run into this crazy Crocodile Dundee type individual that I really hope Bigfoot Anon is willing to do. and there's going to be this mad dash through the Everglades to get away from the big stupid CGI gator that's going to look just as vicious as you could possibly imagine. And we might get one of those little chameleons and dress him up. I haven't decided how to do that part yet. But the whole joke is at the end of it, you're going to find all the victims of the gator sitting around having a barbecue. And the guy that the gator just killed is going to climb out of the water and be like, nah, man, meth heads don't have teeth. Why would meth gators have teeth? But you had a great adventure, right? They serve up some steak and ribs and beer. We're going to have a big old party. It'd be great.
Oh my God.
We'll film the whole thing in like 3 days. It'll be absolutely horrible.
No, I used to get really bad horror movies. Like I used to literally go to the movie store and pick out like the worst B movies you could find. So I totally relate with that.
Oh,
there was like a Jack Frost one where they were like little cotton balls and they were literally like, they had drawings on their little cotton balls.
Oh, honey, I worked at a movie store from like 1994 all the way through to 2009 or so. Like until they shut them all down, there was no more movie stores in town for me to work at.
No. And I'm from Ohio and there's still one movie store left that's like in the area, but pretty much all of them are gone now. It really sucks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, most kids nowadays have no clue what it was like to like get permission to go down to the video store and pick out whatever you wanted. Right. I got a job at the movie store just to have that ability every single day. The money, that was extra.
Word. Well, you remember the like veiled areas with all the porn in the back? Like there was always a special area for the porn that I was always like, why can't I go in there? And my dad'd be like, nope, you go this way.
Yeah. One of the weirdest things working at a movie store that was repetitive and happened more often than you would think. Anytime certain movies were rented, we had to watch them because people like to cut porn into The Little Mermaid and Snow White and a handful of other movies specifically. Mr. Mom, for some strange reason, people would put gay porn into Mr. Mom. It was the weirdest thing. Every single time that tape was rented, we had to sit down and go through it to make sure that it hadn't been clipped again.
Oh, because it was on tape. It was on VHS, right?
Yeah. On VHS. Yeah. So we could like physically edit these things. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right. And this is where I developed my ability to watch 4 things at the same time. I could run a cashier, sign in new movies, watch 3 TVs simultaneously. And if anything weird happened on any of the screens, I would subconsciously catch it, walk over and back it up and see what it was. And it don't matter if it was that long. Somehow I was able to keep enough of that stuff going in my head that it would just glitch a second. I would go over, back it up and make sure it was an edit and not something
else. Yeah.
Not a John
No.
Holmes
I
cameo.
literally like my first. Well, I've never watched a full porn in full because I hate porn. But like I was like 13, and I did this video, and
Traumatized.
we had recycled like VHS tapes or something in school, and somebody must have donated one that had porn on it, because I'm watching this music video I made for class with my little sister. All of a sudden, there's just this big black dick, and there's this white dick, and I was like covering my sister's eyes, like, that's not part of the video. Like, I'll never forget that. Yeah.
That's glorious. Don't worry about it. I once had a transgender comedian tell a joke on my show about how she became enamored by the chair leg and explained all that she decided to do with it. And that was part of her stand-up routine. So I let it play. A big black dick isn't the strangest thing that has occurred on my channel. We've got some breadth in here, let me tell you. One quote that's been dropped is, "They don't call me Girth Brooks for nothing." And that's car thief news for you. Love that, man. He's in jail right now. So if anybody wants to go put some money on his books, I'd appreciate it personally. I'd take it as a personal favor. I don't have that link handy. Probably should. Let's see. We're at 45 minutes. Okay. How long have you been streaming in general?
Okay. So I started politically streaming in 2019. I actually, do you know like Breitbart and like those news? Okay. So I befriended one of the like main guys at Breitbart, and I was in a gun group with Ann Coulter's niece as well. And then when the riot started going on, it was like, you know, I live in Scottsdale where that big riot happened. So I was just around for content basically. And so I just pretty much followed it wherever I went. I had people paying for me to go to other places. I went to DC a couple of times. I went to some Ohio ones. But there was a ton of Arizona stuff that I covered. And, you know, like I live here, so I took it kind of personally. And that was around 2019, 2020. And then 2021, I connected with Baked Alaska. He was mostly 2020 and 21. And I watched his cats and I took care of his house. And that fat fuck is a piece of shit, by the way. But I had his back throughout all the federal agents, you know, chasing him down.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm not interested in getting into all of that right now, but I would really love to have that conversation backstage after I start drinking. Because I got some questions. I'm not going to lie. I have curiosities and I won't send it nowhere. Nobody will ever know. I'm just so curious.
There's a lot. And like, I protected him and Chicken because I thought they were my friends. But then like, as soon as Chicken didn't get what he wanted and Baked Alaska didn't get what he wanted, not get what he wanted, but he just kind of just turned on me, and I have no loyalty to either of them at this point. So I do have a lot to say, but I'm still keeping it classy, you know.
I'm sorry. Previous guest wandered in and I missed her. Criminalized for being family. She's over here having a knockdown drag out between judges, cops, nursing home, her mom and her grandmother that are it's a, pardon the expression, it is a clusterfuck, and they're all against her and her grandmother as far as I can tell. It just looks nasty. ATL is dealing with his own issues in Atlanta. He's been to every single organization in Atlanta that might have something to do with the police to try to get a particular investigation open. And not only will they not take the complaints to start with, they can't figure out who should take the complaints because it involves a school. So, I mean, between the GBI, the FBI, the Cobb County Police, the Sheriff's Department, nobody can figure out who actually is in command of the school police.
Wow.
That's absurd
disgusting.
To me. He's got video of all of it.
That's disgusting.
It is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And I live in Georgia, and that bothers me a little bit. You know, I'm familiar with the good old boy crew that runs around in Georgia. I know how that shit works. I might have been born into some of that, but I don't have to approve of it.
For sure.
I mean, that's straight nepotism. And he's in one of those situations where all of the cops are married to teachers, and all of the firemen are married to teachers, and all the teachers are married to cops and firemen, you know, and so they don't even exist inside the same society the rest of the world exists in.
For sure.
They just have barbecues with each other on the weekends. So they're all blue line gang all the way, all day. Me, I prefer accountability, transparency, and the ability to hold individuals who breach my rights accountable. That's it. Good cop, bad cop. If you're a good cop on a force that has bad cops on it, you should do something to eliminate those bad cops, because if you don't, you are a bad cop.
Yep, absolutely. Well, and then you have the cops that are just kind of lazy, you know, and it's like, oh, well, this is the law. This is what we're here to do. And no, that's just as bad. You know, like the ones that don't think critically, and I don't know. I've had some experience with the police lately, and I totally, I've got my opinions on
this. No one who has had experience with the police wanted experience with the police. Not once.
Word.
These people are dealing with individuals on their worst possible day under the worst possible circumstances. And I recognize that is a difficult job. But if you want to be safe, go flip fucking burgers. You sign up to protect and serve the Constitution of the United States. Do that. Do the thing. You will get commendations galore from me, and everyone else will sing your accolades for simply being a good cop. That's it.
Word.
Do the thing that you signed up to do. That's all I ask of you.
Well, I was really impressed in 2020. You know, you had a lot of law enforcement like coming out and like saying we're not going to enforce this because it's wrong. Right. And I had a lot of respect for those cops.
I had
you know, if
a whole series of shows.
Something, a lot of them got let go, and that's I think what a lot of police officers are worried about.
I started my channel right after lockdown. I shut down all my troll accounts, and I stopped burning out homeless and fake homeless and fake drug accounts and stuff. I stopped killing them. And I've started a legitimate channel with a legitimate purpose and a legitimate point. And I wanted to have conversations with creators online, people who are trying to do the thing. And I had no idea what I was doing. I quite literally saw someone's OBS and went, wait, I've seen that program before. I know what that is. And it took me a little while to put it together, but once I did, I never intended to make a face reveal. I was going to read Westerns. That was my plan. You hear this voice? This is for reading Westerns, isn't
That's
it?
That's a good Western voice. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I could do that. But I got the wrong mic to start with, and I couldn't do that. So I ended up doing live streams, and it turns out I had a little bit of a knack on asking the right questions at the right time without pissing people off. That's really the trick. YouTubers are like herding cats.
Well, and we're suspicious too, because you have to think like we have people that, you know, aren't really interested in our best interest, but they're curious to make a clip or have something that they can claim they got the first information for it. They don't care about us. I mean, like Funny IRL, I love Funny IRL. He supports a lot of newer streamers, which is really cool. And his clips are great. But then you have the clippers that they're just there to like, they have a total bias. And it's like, that's not the point. If you're a clipper, you're supposed to be relaying a bit of information, but you're not supposed to inject your bias into it.
I disagree entirely.
Where
let me explain. Yeah. When you're a clipper, most clippers, and I am a bit of a clipper myself. My original big videos that I did were shorts, and they were compilations of people hurting themselves, and they did very well, but it didn't seem to be the right feel. I didn't like doing it, right? Even though it performed well, I stopped doing that stuff. But when I first started clipping, I did have a particular narrative in mind that I wanted to promote. That all kind of went by the wayside by dint of the volume of live streaming I've been doing. You can't pretend in your head that hard without being mentally ill. It will warp your brain if you try to force a narrative into reality. You will eventually become
Word.
insane. You cannot help it. So I say that I don't have to participate in others' delusions. I just don't have to. Y'all, whoever
No.
wants to go be deluded by themselves is welcome to go do that. I will sit
Word.
over here and laugh at them on the internet with everyone
Word.
else. We can have a nice conversation about those delusions if you'd like. I don't have an issue with that. If you're interviewing a Bigfoot hunter, never ask them what to do if you find a pixie. They get upset. They think you're trolling them. But I'm just serious. When you're out there looking for something that may not exist and you find something else that should not exist, do you call the same people or is that a different group? I'm just curious. Found a gnome.
You mean like with clips and stuff?
Well, I've actually interviewed a legitimate Bigfoot hunter. And I asked him, if you're out there looking for Bigfoot and you find a pixie, do you call the same people that you would if you found Bigfoot, or do you call different people? Is there like an organization? Okay. Do we call the feds? Who do we call? I'm so confused by the idea of hunting Bigfoot or the people hunting Bigfoot for that matter. You know what you've done?
What?
You made an entire show.
Did I?
Absolutely. The show's typically 57 minutes. That's the approach. Basically, the point is to give people who aren't used to seeing your type of content the ability to see it, see how it kind of works, the way it functions. Lifestyle bloggers, they're fairly common, but people with a level of telenovela type drama, that's uncommon. That's not usual. So I hope.
Well, I'll be honest. My boyfriend just ran off. So like there might be a drama scene tonight if I can't find him because he hears these voices and he likes to disappear. And it's very stressful. So there might be another one tonight. We'll see how it goes. But
our brother's a bit schizophrenic. And if he gets a hold to the old devil's dandruff, he goes all psychotic and starts hiding in people's farm equipment and stuff. And if you've never had Sasquatch show up at 4 o'clock in the morning and take a pistol from a naked man out of your combine without even a fight, just walk in and be like, hey, Skunkate, give me the gun. Thank you. And I'll go put it in the truck, come back and be like, hey, get out of this man's combine, please. Okay.
Oh my God.
You do what you got to do when you have people like that. Now, I'm in Georgia. So when we have difficulties, we give them a mint julep and a pistol and put them on a porch in the rocking chair. Let them greet people when they come in. It certainly keeps the solicitors down, let me tell you.
For sure. I bet.
For sure. All right. So I'm going to bring you up. You give everybody a big old sign off. I'm going to do a little play out after I take you down, and we'll be back up for After Dark here in just a minute. That's where I take my glasses off and we're a little bit more open with the whole format and things.
Okay.
Now, you can stick around for After Dark if you want. You can cut and run if you want. I don't know. Sometimes I spook people. It's up to you. But,
no, you're not spooking me at all. The only thing is I do need to find my boyfriend at some point. So I'll probably have to dip out. But I really appreciate you having me on. I feel you definitely have a good approach. And I think that your mission is honorable.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, let me see. Where's my other button? See, every time I do this, it like does weird stuff to my screen up here, and I lose the actual screen where I see what's actually going on, and I have to do stuff to fix. There we go. All right. So I appreciate you coming in. And everything. I mean, it's rare to come across a live streamer that's been actively live streaming for what, 4 years?
Yeah.
Off and on.
A lot of us get burnt out.
I mean, you see
the craziest. Yeah. You see they learn their lesson and they're like, okay, this was a terrible idea having my life exploited online, you know?
That's why I suggest you take a portion of your home, your apartment, whatever, a corner, somewhere where it's not loud, it's not bright, it's not affected by too much light, and you set up in that corner, and that is the appropriate streaming corner. Throw some green screens over there, make it obvious. If you're going to stream, do it here, this room. That way you can close the door and keep the rest of your life outside.
For sure. Well, and it's really cool because like the new apartment, it's twice as big as my place now. And, you know, we already kind of discussed that for my newer content. It's going to be pre-recorded and we're each going to have our own corners. You know, my boyfriend's supposed to have his corner. My roommate's supposed to have his, and then I'm going to have my streaming corner. So I'm with that. I resonate with that entirely.
Fantastic. All right, I'm gonna drop you backstage for about 3 minutes, do my little talk out, and we'll come back up here and do some more stuff here in a little bit. We'll get into the videos I brought in.
Awesome.
All right. I appreciate you coming in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of Sasquatch Shills. As you know, this is where we do a fake play out. We come back with a little bit more live streaming after this. We have a conversation about some current events topics, some ancient history, and some very ancient history. I love each and every one of you like a brother and a sister, but if you give me any trouble tonight, I'll run every single goddamn one of y'all off this mountain.
Sorry. Good news, though. We're going to have to move the party somewhere a little bit more private, but you're all invited. Lorenzo will give you the details. Yeah!
Just getting started. I know that you want it, baby. Just get on it, ready to go. We know how to party. Pull up the Bacardi, feel it in my body. Put on a song, yeah, let's go. Nah, we ain't never gonna stop.
I think that's enough of that trash. All right, let's get our things back set up together. We're gonna set this up in a little bit more of a home-friendly type environment. Where's it at? That's not the one. That's not it. Is that it? That's it. There we go. Yeah, I appreciate you coming in and doing all this. I know it's really weird. Just strange in general. You have some weird guy pop up, some weird furry guy be like, hey, why don't you come talk to me for a little while? But
no, I think it's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of, like I said, the last interview I had was really nice and refreshing. And I've had some pretty dirty interviews, for lack of a better, phrase, but
felt like maybe that was the case. And I was kind of worried that you were going to get turned off to the whole idea before you managed to get around over here. But that's really
no,
cool.
I'm balls to the wall. I'm literally balls to the wall. And I literally I
You
went
know
out
where the
with
term
Megan's
balls
ex. I
to
did
the
an
wall
interview
came
with
from?
her.
Do you know
Huh?
where the term balls to the wall came from?
No.
So back during the early plane days, the throttles came in two types, and one was a split throttle for twin engine planes, and each one had a little ball on the top of it so that you couldn't overextend the throttle. But what you could do is take your hand off of it and shove it forward until it hit the front stop, and that would be the front firewall. Therefore, balls to the wall, full throttle.
Gotcha. Okay.
Why is this not working? Oh, it's not going to let me do it. Let's try it this way. Okay, it'll let me do that. So fine, we'll do it that way. Screw them. All right, so we've got this submersible out there. Everybody's having the conversation in the heebie-jeebies about what exactly went down. Anyone who's done any pressure testing whatsoever knows that virtually immediately upon the breach, everything inside is completely destroyed. The water cuts through there like they use water to cut steel in industry. It's better than a laser because it doesn't get hot. So we're talking water that is coming in at 400 times the pressure that's used in cutting steel. It's amazing that we can go down that far in the first place. When the water gets in, it happens so fast that it, not an exaggeration, combusts the oxygen in the air like a diesel engine, creating something like 30,000 degrees, which is capable of quite literally breaking the side of a normal steel submarine. So the carbon fiber never had a chance. And also in that little bubble that just compressed would also be where all the people ended up. It's a horrendous concept. The only upside to take from this, in my opinion, is they didn't suffer. It was over before they even realized there was a problem. Chances are there might have been a beep or something, and that was the end of it. It was over. So the past week of them running around in the Atlantic looking for people, to my knowledge, we have never successfully rescued anyone from over 129 feet that went down in any unexpected circumstance, with the exception of saturation divers who had facilities on the seafloor at the time. We have rescued a few of them, but we had full on gear, well drilling gear in place over them when it went wrong, and we were able to go in and save them. This guy didn't have none of that. None of it. Let's see what the poll came up with. Apparently, almost even split between tofu and nope, never mind. Tofu won by far. Which is worse in movies? Tofu, car foo, or gun foo? I hate it in movies when people use cars as part of a fight, or a motorcycle as part of a fight, or a bicycle or something. I consider it all car foo. And that whole John Wick theme of people using guns and punching people with the guns and like dancing around shit. I'm sorry. You're not going to get close enough to me to make any of that shit work. Right. I will riddle your ass with holes and send your mama the bill for my rugs. This is what'll happen. Because I'm a savage. It's not working. Why is it not working? Well, welcome to Sasquatch Shills, where the technical issues are part of the show. Is it gonna function?
Technology.
Right.
I'm gonna have to sign off. Are you good?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can come back. I have to go do a
I'll be here
for
the next hour.
Okay. Well, we'll see if
pop back in. You got the link.
But I would love
link in chat
to come back on.
Okay. Also, you're forever invited to all the Afterdarks in the future.
That's what I was wondering, because I actually would love to come back and dive more into some details if you wanted to, and I would definitely be open to that.
Afterdark is where we
damage control right now, so
the deeper, darker parts of people's channels, if they're willing to. We also do technical issues. If you're having sound problems, video issues, if you're having OBS problems, StreamYard problems, don't know why video, whatever, terms of service, we cover all that crap. It's to help YouTubers make better content easier. That's the whole point of Afterdark. So,
well, you showed me a new trick with streaming on my channel with, the link that you were, streaming from my channel while being on yours. That was very new to me.
Be very, very careful with that. I watched 7 channels get smoked the other day because somebody whipped out some German scat porn. Careful. Very careful. So be really careful who you choose to accept a stream from. You can stream to virtually anybody. Let them stream your content relatively safely. What you can't do is stream someone else's content because you have no control over what they're fixing to do. And if you've got 10 people on and everybody's got a screen, then you never know when something like that is going to happen. So careful.
For sure.
I do this show about
Gucci's. Somebody put I don't know if you know who Gucci's is, but
right. I do this show
I've had experiences with the spammers.
I let all previous guests, if you see somebody pop up that you would like to share their Sasquatch Shills as a previous guest, you just let me know. I'll send you the link. You come in, hook up your stream to it, and you can restream it to your channel if you want to. It's 57 minutes of completely non-copyright material that you ain't got to do nothing for. It just happens. The one thing
I really appreciate you having me on. I'm sorry I have to cut it short, but
go ahead.
I've got to go do damage control. So we'll keep updated on if I stream later, if there's a decision I need to make. So
go find your peoples. I know how it'd be to lose peoples.
Well, it's my one person, and he can't keep his shit together, unfortunately. So
That sounds like people to me.
Yeah.
My brother's people. I don't think he's quite one
Yeah.
person. He's got way too many weird ideas in there for to be just one person in there.
Word.
Anyway, you have a lovely evening. I hope everything works out for you. And I'll try to be done by the time you've streamed something worth watching.
God, I
Or I'll
hope
probably be in bed.
if I stream, it's bad news tonight. So let's hope I don't have to. But I'm sure it'll be entertaining.
Certainly. I'm going to start drinking here in a little bit, and it'll certainly get
Okay.
entertaining, and then I'll stop streaming.
All right. Well, enjoy. I'll be back. I'll
Much
be
love.
around, and if you want me to come back, just let me know.
Pop in. Let me know. I'm always available. I'm retired, so I don't do that work thing. It's too much like work. So just hit me up. We'll be here.
Okay. We'll do.
You have a lovely
Thank
evening.
you. Thanks. You too.
Close that up. I'm going to post this thing. We're going to do this part. Did that work? Total of 24 volts. That's not bad. All right. I'm pretty sure everybody understands why I didn't share the StreamYard link before she came down. If you don't, she has a larger than average population of fairly dedicated trolls. I was a little bit sketchy bringing her on, having watched a couple of her live streams and going back and looked through a few of them that she still has available on her channel. And I realized some part of the way through there that I was familiar with her, but not familiar with her channel specifically. I had seen her on all kinds of different channels, mostly from clip channels. But she was always when I did see her, she was in the background, and I didn't make the connection until right before the show that, wait a second, I do know where all this is from. I just don't really know the story behind it. Oh, cool, Boa. Welcome in. Good to see you, bud. Yeah, she's an interesting streamer. She's definitely got a sort of an angle going. But you know me, I don't mind people working a gimmick. Go for it. I'm not sure what it would be, but there it is.
More numerous failure modes. Oceangate's defense was that they had an acoustic and strain monitoring system in place.
An acoustic and strain monitoring system. This isn't possible in carbon fiber. Carbon fiber doesn't carry sound like steel does. It doesn't carry sound like iron. And so an acoustic strain monitoring system would merely let you know that everyone in the sub just died. Oh yeah, baby. I don't know. I think you might have to be a cute blonde to qualify for those types of trolls, baby. I'll be honest with you.
Far from convinced here. As we discussed, strain monitoring is of little use if we don't know the ultimate stress of the material. We can only really confidently know that.
All right, let me go run back over this real quick. He's gone over the composition of the sub, the construction of the sub, the methodology of that composition, and the attachment points of the two sub ends, which were titanium half spheres that had been connected to a carbon fiber chassis. And the carbon fiber chassis on paper should have been able to take the stresses, but that is only assuming that your construction methods are absolutely perfect, that there's not a single overlap that lines up, that it's fully competent paneling in there, that everything's put in right, that all your bulkheads were done properly without actually stressing any of the hull in any direction. And then you have to join it to the titanium spheres utilizing a less than desirable method of basically gluing it in. Even with the application of bolts and whatnot, you run the risk of cracking the actual carbon fiber chassis, and you can't run that risk at all. And so chances are bolts weren't even used on the ends. And if they were, it was mainly to hold the sealant in place, the epoxy that they used to basically glue the two pieces together. I'll be honest, it looks more suited to running drugs than it does to running people to the Titanic.
That. But what the ultimate stress is if we know the material is free of significant defects. Stockton stated it's impossible to test for such defects. Now, my knowledge of carbon fiber composite is quite limited for this application.
And certainly
That
not a
statement is
knockoff
untrue.
controller. Fuck that shit, dude. I'm sorry. When that dude popped out a Logitech, I went, oh my God, they were all screwed. I used to have a Bluetooth Logitech controller. That thing couldn't find my freaking PlayStation. It just wouldn't do it. And I can't imagine him riding around down yonder, driving that thing around, counting on a Logitech. Oh my God, a Logitech controller. Oh, wow.
Testing service offered for bikes, and I'm not here to disparage bikes. A front fork failure on a mountain bike could absolutely be fatal. If no suitable test rig was
Did a
available,
contra code
the only
get internet
viable approach
lives?
in Oceangate's case would be to commission one. If that was not possible, carbon fiber composite is not an ideal material, and we don't use it. I'm not saying a carbon fiber composite DSV is not possible safely, but I'm confident a significant amount of effort is required to ascertain the integrity of such a vessel. I see little evidence that Oceangate made this effort. To understand whether a construction is safe would require extensive knowledge of failure modes, test regimes, and fatigue effects.
Love this dude's work. I just found him like a couple of days ago, all because of this whole submarine thing, or submersible thing. I'm sorry. His channel is called Just Alex. He's got 6,000 subscribers, and I don't know how many of these types of things he's done, but this one is exceptionally well done. The details are spot on. I don't see any engineering flaws in his logic. Everything seems to work just the way he describes, and his history on the way the sub was produced is more accurate than some of the other videos I've seen, which is why I chose this particular video.
Thanks.
Never mind that the sound's a little low. Is it low on y'all's end?
This would be at least a PhD level of knowledge. This is another reason certification exists. It's not just a catch-all excuse. It ensures a trusted third party with that knowledge has applied it. Perhaps of even more concern to me is the interface between the carbon fiber composite and the titanium.
I see you, bud.
Interfacing different materials is always a challenge. Every other DSV in existence.
Are you going to cover your broken phone, or are you going to stare into it with your nose?
Which does have viewport. Oceangate posted this video that shows the titanium ceiling rings being installed.
Nothing much. I figured I'd hop up here. How's my sound with these earbuds on?
Kind of sounds like you're at a CAD.
Hold on, I can fix that.
A fairly big can.
Better?
Oh, yeah, that's better.
Oh.
How long did you think those people survived?
I think they're still alive and they just faked it all.
Oh, you're good. All right. So I said this on the very first day. The very first person who notified me was like, you hear about the people who are missing in a sub? And I was like, wait, are we talking like a submarine or a submersible? And they were like, oh, it's a submersible. I said, how far down did they get? They were like 190 feet or something. I don't know. They didn't say specifically. They was going down for like 2 hours. And I was like, okay, but how far did they get? They were like halfway. I said, dude, they're so fucked. They're already dead. There's no point. What are they doing? Are they trying to find those people? That's a terrible idea. The most we could hope to pick up pieces of the sub, and that's it.
Well, from what I understand, one of the guys owned the company that was responsible for the chemical spill up here in Ohio. Another guy was some CEO for, I can't remember what chemical that was, that disappeared between California and somewhere else. Just a whole train just disappeared. No wreck, no nothing. And the kid that was with the one guy was kind of forced into it by his dad.
I heard about that. And that struck me as a little weird. So like, I'm kind of digging on your concept of them faking their deaths and running off to some island somewhere with all their money. That makes a little sense to me. I get it. No, that raised the hairs on the back of my neck when you said it. My Alex Jones's right jar just got another 2 cents dropped in it.
I mean, it's just a conspiracy theory right now, but if they show back up in 5-10 years or something like that, then we'll know.
Right. I had a when all this first happened and they said they were looking for them, and I was like, why? I mean, why not call up the Navy and ask if they heard anything? Because they would know. That's what I would do. I'd call up the Navy, be like, hey, did y'all hear anything go kerbloop over here? Because that would be bad. And then you could save all the money of all the people trying to do all the things that we're trying to do. And it don't make sense to put those people in that danger, knowing that 99.99% chance these people's is toast. Or, like you said, they were never in the sub in the first place.
I mean, I would have went down about 50 feet, drove 5-10 miles one way to a boat, and then shot the dude driving, pushed him in there, threw in a couple cadavers just for the heck of it.
You don't have to do that. No, this guy covers that part. Actually, this video actually coagulates pretty well with your theory. Listen to this madness. Right before this mission, he fired all of the old white guys that helped build and design the thing, hired a whole bunch of just random people from different colleges that are young and dynamic and definitely not on the dole. And that's the crew that he took out there, is literally a bunch of nobodies. They're so lucky they're still alive. We'll know if it was a cover.
Oh, that's hilarious.
People didn't kill themselves.
I mean, I don't understand how he got the fiberglass from Boeing and why you would use fiberglass that they wouldn't use for a plane.
Carbon fiber. But
or carbon fiber.
For a plane either. See, the thing is, we haven't really been utilizing carbon fiber for stressful circumstances long enough to know what its fatigue state is. So using it to do a diving bell to go down to the 13,000 feet to the Titanic seems a bit foolhardy to me. But if you're trying to get rid of bodies, or you don't want anybody to be able to find a body, that's just the way to do it. Yes, sir.
And see, you said the same thing I said a day or two ago about the bodies on Everest. We leave them there for markers. You know,
we leave them there because we don't have a method to go get them that's safe enough for the people involved in that method. Our helicopters don't fly that high.
I thought you could take a helicopter to the top of Mount Everest.
You can take a specially designed helicopter to a clear spot on the summit of Everest, provided the weather is absolutely flawless. And even then, it's going to cost you a freaking mint. And that helicopter is specially built to fly that high. Yes. And it's literally using ground effect pressure to get up the last 1,000 or 2,000 feet. Like, not really. You're not rescuing somebody who has a problem on Everest. It's not above Camp 3. In fact, I think Camp 3 is as high as you can get with a standard helicopter.
I have a cat that wants to say hi, apparently. She keeps bugging me. Say hi, Gizmo.
Hello, kitty. Here, kitty. You know, a little bit of General So Soft, that'd be worth eating.
Oh, sesame seed cat would be good.
Right. So these are the people that ended up doing the actual mission. Or let's see. Yeah. Notice, old white guy, young white guy. Half the people that you see in this get douched out right before this mission takes place. The people who know about it aren't there, and the people who are having to learn about it are there. They'll never get a clear shot of exactly what happened on that boat, dude. Nobody will ever know. You could have paid all those folks off and they'll all go home and swear to God that they saw you get in that submarine, because they did see you get in the submarine. They just don't say anything about the getting out part.
I mean, they've been running this tour for the last like 15 years or something like that. Never had a problem until now.
No, that's not true. They recently had an attempt. In fact, the same group of people tried to go a couple of months ago, and it had a drogue bag released by accident. They could only go down like 120 feet. They had to go back up, detach everything, reschedule, and that's part of the reason why this mission was so weird, was that some of the people that were involved in the previous one got fired, got replaced, people got switched out, and almost this entire boat was entirely new crew. That is very suspicious to me. And when you said that, I was suddenly like, wait a second, the whole boat had a new crew, a completely inexperienced crew, as I understand it. Hey, Guru, welcome. Spooky shine on you, crazy diamond.
I don't know. I think I've been watching too many conspiracies about it. I just thought it was strange that like 3 out of the 5 passengers all had something hanging over their heads that was pretty major.
Probably all of them. If you looked into the rest of them, not counting the kid, he might not have been involved yet. But I do find it all suspicious. But my first conspiracy thoughts went like this: bunch of billionaires on a boat lost at sea. Well, sit right back and you hear a tale of a big boat trouble. No, is it too soon? I do apologize.
It's not too soon. I'm laughing.
Well, I completely froze up a whole panel with that line the other night. I was it was like an hour after they had revealed that everybody was dead, and they were like, okay, everybody tell the worst joke you could come up with. And several folks pitched out. That's what I said. It started on some fucking boat in the middle of the Atlantic.
Do you remember that one chick that was a cop that got in trouble for having sex with like half the force?
Yeah, Laverne. That was Laverne, Tennessee or Texas?
I thought it was
name of the town was
Megan something. I think her name was. Well, the funniest meme I've seen so far was a picture of her up top and said, "You weren't the first." Then it had the sub to fuck 5 guys underneath. Yeah.
The best one I've seen is a picture of her riding a mechanical bull, and it had it had something about taxpayers' money, and Laverne Police Department was the bull. Damn, who did that one? Ugh. Evil. Some people are mean, dude. But I guess you know, you spend long enough time in this shit house we call YouTube, you eventually have some dark humor approach, right? You can't help it.
I mean, if you can't make a joke about a situation, then it's just gonna eat you up. It's a proven fact.
Spooky has a good point. The best subs are the ones they use on rigs. He's right. No, they have the absolute best technology. They've got NASA beat with a stick, son. Their budget's way bigger. What's up, the Jewish redneck prepper? What's happening, baby? I haven't seen you in a minute. I think you were in here, what? Was it the last one? I think you were in here the last one. Yeah, maybe I need to stream more often. Keep track of folks. We've got some wild fossils over here. Have y'all seen these? These are fossils that have formed while creatures were either fighting, eating, or giving birth. Some very rare event in an animal's life that we have a direct snapshot of thanks to the concept of fossilization. What's up, Samuel? Yeah, no. My guest wanted to do her stream. She's West Coast. She said she wasn't getting off until after 9. So yeah, we started at midnight here. And you know, Sasquatch generally turns into a pumpkin at about midnight. But we're fixing to come up on the 1.5 hour mark. I'm going to start shooting shots, and we're going to be out of here pretty quick after that.
Oh, you know something I learned about fossil fuels the other day?
That it ain't made out of dinosaurs.
Yep. I was watching your show when I learned that, wasn't I?
Right? I don't know. Maybe. I know that fossil fuels actually aren't related to fossils. They're associated with the microscopic organisms that derive sunlight into food. And it's the unutilized carbon, hydrocarbons in their tiny, minuscule little cells that make up the actual hydrocarbons we burn in our cars. So crude oil is essentially a whole bunch of bacteria blood.
Do you know what coal is made out of then?
Dead babies?
No, old forests that fell down before something could digest them and break them down.
Cola. I thought you said cola.
No, coal.
Yeah,
Oh.
It is really cool. Type of coal. Anthracite's one of the only coals you can go into with a hammer and break it apart and start finding chunks of trees and stuff like that in there. It's fucking amazing. Yeah, it's post-pumpkin time, let me tell you. This has been a hard one. I couldn't nap earlier. I tried my best to catch me a nap. I just ended up sitting and drinking cups of coffee back to back to back to back. Pretty sure Dead Babies is the name of the gang in one of the Tromaville pictures that has the Toxic Avenger in it. The name of the gang is the Dead Babies. Also, there's another reference to a Dead Babies gang, and I can't remember. It was it was a Brain Smasher, a love story, maybe. I can't remember. The guy had a baby head seeking bullet. It was a bad parody of like a daytime talk show. And he was trying to prove to everybody that it would be useful to have a baby head seeking bullet. Like, for instance, what if? And then it goes to like this dream sequence where there's a bunch of dead baby gang members running around with dead babies hanging around the neck. It was so retarded. It's great. I may have watched a few too many movies in my youth.
Oh no, whenever I think about dead babies, I always think about Rugrats and how they were all supposed to be dead and just imaginary friends of Angelica.
Oh my Lord. There's so many different really wicked conspiracy theories on that one. How about this one? All right. So I don't have, I'll have to go back and find the video, and I might do a show on this if it's as I remember. But somebody did a headcanon video where the Rugrats fold into the kids next door, and the associations that he draws across the two different shows are staggering. Like, it really leaves you wondering, wait a second, were they both filmed at the same time or something? I mean, like, but no, they're totally unrelated shows as far as I can tell. They just have a lot of the same types of elements carried from one show to the next.
I think I've seen that video you're talking about, but it's been a long time.
I think it was made by the same guy who did the Willy Wonka Snowpiercer video.
Maybe.
I'm not positive about it. I'll tell you another really good, headcanon creator. Go look at What's Anti-Logic is the name of the channel.
I'm subscribed to him because of you already.
Have you checked any of his stuff out?
I've watched one or two videos here and there, but honestly, I'm subscribed to so many people on YouTube. I get so many notifications, I can't keep up anymore.
Right. Well, he only uploads like once every 2 or 3 months, so those notifications are me, not him. But no, he goes into things like let's see. Okay, take what's the name of it? Sinister, the Sinister films, and Peter Pan, and that one with the Biggie Man dude, and he ties them all together by making an analogy of all the lost kids being the Lost Boys, and I can't remember the German name, Russian name of that guy, Bo. It's the name of one of the movies that I'm talking about. It's
I almost want to say Rocky Balboa, but that's not right.
The Phantom is full of zombies. Garfield, a rabbit hole that makes. Oh yeah, no. Garfield is a Lovecraftian horror. Have you seen that one, dude?
No.
All right. The whole purpose of Garfield, first of all, Babadook. That's it. The Babadook. All right. So what's Anti-Logic takes the Babadook and the Sinister films and Peter Pan and ties them all together into a single canon that makes way too much sense. He even adds in a little bit at the end about the original Lost Boys movie with the vampires and shit, and how some of the themes from it also carry through the rest of these. Dude, it blew my freaking mind. He had a video that he removed. I'm almost positive it was him. It may have been an earlier channel, but it was all about Jar Jar Binks being a Sith.
Oh, being the real master of them.
Real Dark Lord of the Sith.
Yeah.
And how everybody else is just, being fooled by him. But when you listen to it and you watch his examples, like for instance, the scene where Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon defend him in the square, where the fuck did Jar Jar go during that fight? If you watch the film, he jumps straight the fuck up in the air. When it backs up later, you find Jar Jar hanging off of like a second story fucking window. What? Homie just jumped 20 foot straight up. Did one of the Jedi throw him? Like, I need a little explanation. Okay, he's amphibian. He can hop really good.
I mean, think about it. If he lived in the water his whole life, that's extra resistance. And what's the gravity difference between that planet and the planet he's on when he jumps?
Naboo. This was on Naboo. So that's not it. I get where you're going. And I had the same thought, but this occurs on Naboo. And he straight up jumps 20 foot onto a stormtrooper that would have shot Qui-Gon. I'm telling you, dude, he was a Sith. I keep waiting for somebody to go wholehearted into that whole parody concept. It's going to be beautiful.
I mean, they did do like a good 15, 20-minute movie about it. Because he does it. What was it? When they're in the desert and they meet someone that's trying to rob them, he almost does do like a Jedi mind trick on him.
Yeah, no, you saw that part too. Yeah. You straight see him wave his hand just like Qui-Gon does when he says, "These are not the droids you're looking for."
Yep.
Exactly the same motion. And the guy that's talking to him immediately turns around and lets him go with no further discussion. And even the two folks that are with him are confused. They're like, the fuck just happened? But they move on, because if they don't, they're probably all going to get shot.
Yep. I mean, it would have been a really good storyline if everyone didn't already hate him. But I would think you'd be able to play into everyone not liking his character and him wind up being the big bad guy.
Samuel, come up, hit the link and come up here. I've got something to say about this. I fully agree with your approach on that. Because if Jar Jar Binks is not the most competent entity in the history of the galaxy, then he is by far the most incompetent anything that has ever occurred. And I find that unlikely. I just don't believe such a creature could survive to adulthood. It's up to you, dude. If you're busy, do your thing. Jar Jar stole Jackson's purple lightsaber. Oh, dude. There's I think it's a Legends book about what happened to the purple lightsaber. That Mace Windu scene has been referenced for a while in Star Wars canon, but was never actually shown until the movie that I'm aware of. We knew that 3 Jedi went to broach the Emperor, because they thought at the time that he might be a student of the Sith. They didn't believe that he was a Dark Lord, that he was actually the Sith Lord, Palpatine, his motherfucking self, right? They didn't realize, because you have to understand, in the history of Sith, for 10,000 years, the Sith ran around like freaking boy bands. They would get together in groups of 5 or 6 and just go tear hell on a planet until some Jedi showed up, straighten them out, and they'd kill them all or whatever. And there'd be a dark spot on the planet for a while. 1,000 years ago, Darth Bane cut the most wicked of Sith moves. He convinced all the Sith in the galaxy to simultaneously throw something called a thought bomb, which not only trapped the Jedi of the Light Army, but also the entire Brotherhood of the Sith, with the exception of Darth Bane, who at the time was under attack by Jedi and didn't get an opportunity to put his 2 cents worth in on it. So he didn't get sucked into that. Also, he didn't believe in that shit in the first place. He thought all y'all was pussies anyway. If you're not tough enough to be a Sith and take the mantle of Sith, you don't deserve to call yourself Darth. So, leader of the Sith at the time. Yeah, I want you and Omegon to run together. That's what I want. Come on, do it.
What's up, man?
Omegon and Samuel for president 2024. No lives matter.
Why choose the lesser evil, right?
Right. Of them fucking. All right, bud. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Squatch. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty spiffy. I had a really late one tonight. She requested a late start, and you know me, I try to accommodate. I know some folks are in Taiwan and various other places. You weird West Coasters really got me stretched though.
I'm not on the West Coast, man. I'm Mountain Time.
Hey, bro. Once you pass that Mississippi, you're all West Coast.
Oh man, yeah, this is actually my the third stream I've been on today.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a busy boy. I tried to swing through them, but I missed a couple. I was busy.
Yeah, I got at least one more tomorrow, maybe another. We'll see.
I managed to get over there and hit on Ryan a little bit. He didn't like it. Made him uncomfortable.
He loves it.
He can say he don't like it. It does seem to make him crawl around in his skin though, because even knowing he still wonders.
The Legion doth protest too much.
Too much. Yeah. The fact that any stream we get on, I have everybody in his clique agreed to put me directly under him at all times because I prefer to be there. It took him what 3 or 4 appearances to really put that together, that it would just he was like, what is going on here?
I love it. Yeah, no, I told him today. I think we were live when I said it too. I was just like, yeah, he's just gonna call you Specimen from now on. He ain't even gonna call you by your name.
I have been too. In every single chat I find him in, I'm like, ooh, Specimen. It tickles me so much. I have so much fun with that. I hope it really doesn't bother him.
No, he's a good sport about it.
Yeah, he looks like enough of a man. He can handle it. Wesley Curry II, welcome in, bud.
Yeah, he's.
Are you using a picture of Andy Dick?
It sure looks like it, doesn't it?
Hey, I got any mods left in chat? Homie's going kind of spammy on us already. I don't hate Jesus.
I never said nothing about hating Jesus.
Oh,
we just ain't bosom buddies.
As far as nuking Chicago goes, I don't know, man. I think they're doing a pretty good job of it themselves. I don't think we have to do anything. It's already a disaster area.
Yeah.
Chicago's not the okay. I'm sorry. I brought you up here to talk.
No. It's cool. Wesley there. He came in, said hi, and then started going hard in the chat. What the hell?
Hey, yeah, no. I mean,
like who says
I'm
hello?
still trying to read it all.
Like, little tip for the future, Wesley, when you're trolling, like the high thing. Actually, you know what? Never mind. I retract that. That works because it puts people off guard.
I don't know, man. I'm sorry. When I don't know if that's a picture of Andy Dick. I might be wrong. I really want to know.
It might be Ben Stein.
It might be Ben Stein. I can't fucking tell though. Looks like it could be the guy from the KFC bucket. I can't be sure.
It almost looks like the dude from Socially Informed Media that I watch.
What was the name of that guy on the was it I think the Orville Redenbacher commercials?
Yeah,
dancing and shit.
Are we close at all? I mean, have we got anywhere near your we're dying to know, man. Certainly seeing Jesus, hearing him tell the vision, and denying it is the way of Satan's children. Hey, Bo, I got just the channel for you, man. There's this channel called Untethered Live. He does this whole religious thing. He's got this whole Christian conservative thing on lock, dude. Go over there, tell him Sasquatch sent you. And we'll at least get a nod from everybody over there, even if they completely douche you out immediately. I personally find this is a bit more, his speed. He likes to have these conversations. As far as Nuke in Chicago, I'm open to any suggestions, but I just don't think it's necessary.
I have a question for Wesley. If you can hear Jesus, ask him what the last thing I told him was.
Hold up. He said he could hear Jesus. He never said Jesus could hear him. Touche. Come again. I got your back, Wesley. You're on my side. We're gonna get him. Trolling. Who's trolling who? Wait a second. Damn it. Sasquatch. You're not that man anymore.
That's clearly a lie.
That is obviously a lie. I still have 14 phones. What?
Listen, Wesley, man, more power to you. I appreciate you saying your piece like that with no chill and no preamble.
You're good.
I mean, goddamn, but you know what? I'm telling you, man, you must have to walk around with a wheelbarrow balls like that.
Well, I don't know, man. I kind of have an open chat to an extent. I'll let people say until it becomes obvious they're either straight trolling or start raving.
Oh yeah, no
causing problems,
no shade on that, man. It's just there's a lot of channels that would have nuked his ass right away.
Yeah. I try to,
and if he goes into every chat this hard, I mean, that like those are some big balls there.
And I don't remember denying Jesus. Did you deny Jesus? Were you one of those?
I'm a pagan, so
okay. Well,
Jesus ain't really my thing, but I don't have a problem with other people being into Jesus.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I don't either. I kind of have my own personal sort of thing, I don't really advertise the fact that I have any type of spirituality whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, what's that that Bill Hicks said? He said there's a living God that will speak directly to you.
Okay.
And
here's the way I look at it. I've had events occur in my life that I consider miraculous. Had you witnessed them take place, you would go, oh, well, it was just cause and effect. However, the fact that it took place at exactly that moment and exactly the way it happened was beyond the pale from my perspective, right? Perfect example. I had a horrible day at work one day. I had to go deliver some windows. I blew 3 freaking tires out on the way. I ended up getting that done. On the way back, I hit the same patch of bullshit, blew out 2 fucking more. What? Okay. So I finally get those dealt with. I get back to the plant about 45 minutes after my ride leaves. Holy shit. So here I am stuck after work, after dark, in a town that has like 700 people in it. I know like 3 folks here. So I call those 3 people. They're all gone out to freaking dinner or whatever. I'm like, fine. So I start walking the 14 miles home. An ex-girlfriend of mine had a flat tire on the road. She hates me. Hey, she stabbed me once. She hates me. Without saying a word, I walked up. She looked at me. I looked at her. I changed her tire. and climbed in the passenger seat. She dropped me off in front of my apartment, and I was home. The fact that woman let me in her car is miraculous.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I think in all seriousness, there's an argument to be made that the mere fact of anyone's particular birth, those specific sets of genes coming together at that specific time to create that specific person, is a miracle. I think there's an argument to be made there too.
Absolutely, I stand by that 100%. If I had been born in a Spartan society, I'd been cast against the rocks.
Yeah, that's entirely likely.
Here's to you and here's to me, and may we never disagree. But if we do, to hell with you. Here's to me.
Oh, if I was born back during Spartan times, I'd become a general with ease.
Oh, no, sir. Not with ease. It would be
with
blood, sweat, and tears, but you might do it happily. Because here's the thing. We don't have any people like the Spartans anymore. These people bred themselves out of existence. When you were a Spartan, you're a Spartan ally. You have an entire fucking army on your gates. You send a single runner out to the Spartans to ask for help, and they say no. They'll have nothing to do with it. Okay, so it gets hard enough. They do decide to help. Do you know how the Spartans would help you?
Send a couple hundred people, that'd be it.
No. They would ask for a singular retired veteran volunteer to go help your city. That guy would train an entire fucking army into existence and then crush the enemy. I'm dead serious. We do not have people like that anymore. Yeah, we know, Carrie. You got about 10 minutes to get your ass backstage before we go off live.
I just talked to Carrie.
Yeah. If you can bring me a question interesting enough, I'll stay live. What's up, Scully? Bring your ass up here. I'll stay live just so folks can hear your voice.
I think me and Mandatory Carrie are the only one left in your Discord.
Yeah, I'm not even in there. Hey, here's the problem I had with Discord, right? I started my Discord, and like a week later, I invited NC Tyrant Hunter into my Discord. He accidentally shared it into his Discord, and I suddenly had like 2,000 people in Discord. I couldn't keep track of none of that trash. I had no idea who these people were. None of it. I finally just took my hands off and walked away. There are 4 people in my Discord. Swiss Miss, you, Mandatory Carry, and I think Orb Puff is still in my Discord. And I'm trying to get her to come in. She's got a 500 subscriber thing happening soon. And I'm trying to get her in for that 500 subscriber thing. Are y'all familiar with Orb Puff at all?
I think I met Orb Puff on one of your streams, actually. Briefly.
She's a Scottish sort of content creator. She wants to do like direction and animations, right?
You know what? Actually, I know where I know her name from. She subbed to me about 6 months ago.
That'd be about right. That was about the time you started showing up with After Darks, roughly.
Yeah. Yep. So seemed like a nice lady.
She calls me fuzzy. And when she says it, it really arouses me in a way that I can't explain, because it doesn't come out fuzzy. It comes out fuzzy. I can't do it. It's that Scottish. Like, girl, stop it.
Yeah. We was on a Mayor's chat just a little bit, or on her channel a little bit ago, with a young man of British persuasion, and he was trying to do American accents, speak a little Spanish and try and do it, with the proper accent and stuff, and that Brit just kept shining through.
One of my favorite stories to share. A friend of mine died back when I was in high school, and he had this really big hard on for anything Tex-Mex, right? It was his most favoriteest thing ever. Tex-Mex, anything spicy, hot stuff, senoritas, the whole nine, right? And right before he was killed by drunk driver, which is one of the reasons why I'm so firmly against driving drunk. Anybody ever. And I don't care any excuses. One shot too many. I just had a couple of beers. Is jail time as far as I'm concerned. I'm down with no tolerance on that point. He learned Spanish fairly well, but was the only person I ever heard speak straight Spanish with a deep Southern accent. And I learned to imitate it because it was so funny. De tal padre tal hijo.
It sounds like my mother. Oh, my mother's from Oklahoma, man. She sounds like that when she, you know, until she was like, she grew up down there and spent a lot of time in places like El Paso and you know, border towns and that sort of thing. And so my whole life, I always heard her saying phrases like El Cheapo.
Yeah. Which
is not Spanish.
Right.
But she's like, no, it's Spanish. Trust me. They say it all the time.
Hey, bud, I got to get your ass in here for a show sometime.
Yeah,
you got
absolutely.
Hey, senorito.
Yeah. And it's like that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, he broke me with that shit. Boa. See, that's one issue I have with your channel is there's no way to you can start arguments on the internet. You can't win them or finish them. They will never finish. If we find something, El Finito, if we can find something we disagree on, I promise you, no matter what you say, I will still fucking disagree with you, dude. And you won't get me to agree with you. You will not have that happen. Because I have been in this ballywick for fucking going on 10, 12 years now. I've been a YouTube troll. So good luck. I'm just saying, man.
I mean, you know, we have some arguments on my channel. Mostly it's discussion, but
I'm down for discussions all day long, dude. We can have conversations. I love people who have opposite opinions to me because I'd like to see them verify them. The issue I come across is I can't find any left-wing content creators willing to have a conversation with me that they don't dictate the questions.
That has been a consistent problem, I think, with a lot of people across the board. It's pretty hard to get them even to be willing to be in the same room, let alone have the discussion.
I've had two. Out of the 200 some odd people I've had come through my shills, I have had two avowed left-wing, full-on content creators that sat down, had a conversation with me, and in both cases, in the After Dark portion of the show, or immediately after the After Dark portion of the show, they were so offended by some question that was asked that I thought was asked in an honest curiosity, that they just left and never explained what it was until months and months later. They finally answer an email and it's like, oh, well, Homecuz was hating on me. And I was like, wait, I have a question for you. I'm not hating on you. I'm curious.
Well, there's this cat named Z-Past, or goes by Z-Past. Anyway, he's an avowed democratic socialist, he says. And I have to give him credit. He had the cojones to come up onto Amira's channel, a channel full of people who hate communists,
right?
You know, like abjectly hate them. And he got up there and he tried to explain his positions, and he was very polite and he wanted to have a conversation. The problem is he was in a room full of people. Some of us were trying to have a conversation with him, but most of them were just tearing him apart,
straight dunking.
Which was, you know, like on the one hand, I get, you know, deconstruct the argument, prove it wrong if you can, but you know, some of that shit was mean spirited.
Actually, I think Kat has the best answer over here. When all reasonable argument fails, just squawk like a bird. I love it. Caw. I'm a dirty bird. I deserve this. That's my secret. That's what I say. Anytime my wife does anything violent in public, she starts like punching me or hitting me or anything, I immediately scream, I deserve this.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because trolling
I
comes first.
think, I think I could BS an argument for like socialism, probably not communism, but at least socialism. I think I can build. I think I could do it.
All right. We'll pull that shit up in backstage one day, and I could sit down and straight burn your ass up with an argument for communism. I could do the same thing with an argument for socialism, and then turn around and kind of have difficulty from the American Constitution's perspective of disabusing you of your information on the opposite, because that's not what we're about.
I never said I would agree with myself. I just said I think I could BS it long enough for a little bit.
Yeah. Trolling is life. Life is trolling. With great trolling, great possibility.
Does it though?
It really does.
Oh man, yeah. No, Carrie, you're right. Z-Pass was a decent kid. You know, he had some ideas that maybe he hadn't thought through. And in fact, is he was young. He's real young. He was like barely 22, I think. You know, and he was in a room full of people in their 40s and 50s who, some of whom had lived through the shit that he was talking about. You know, Luke Castley, for example. You know, you met her. She's from Venezuela. Like. During the bad shit, the real bad shit, you know. So,
hey,
you know,
can I'm gonna run you by a channel that is the reason I started my channel. See, she's the first creator who ever said you should start a channel. You have something to say, because I was running like 50 different profiles at the time. She was like, if you've got so much to say, why not start a channel? I went to her channel to smoke her channel because I thought she was trash. Turns out she had just gotten out of prison and was doing a prison stories channel and had simply named her channel Homeless. And then she got a home like the very next day. So like when she first did her live streams, the name of the channel was Homeless, but she was in a house, and it kind of it didn't sit right. But when I realized what was going on, I became her first mod. The name of the channel, if you search women's prison stories, you'll find her, but her name is Yuri Antoinette. Antony, something like that. Anyway, she wrote a book. She's done all kinds of stuff like that. You know, she's done the thing. She's running like, I don't know, 50,000 subs on YouTube now, never uploads anymore. We put together on that channel. It was the first time I took an active interest in the channel, right? To actively try to help a channel grow, because she was doing the thing that I like to see on YouTube, you know, doing the YouTube thing. She was live streaming, taking walks on the beach, telling all her prison stories. It was a pretty neat little thing. That community is still sitting in her channel, sort of on freeze. There's these 3,000 people or so, which was about where she went to TikTok because she could make more money. Oh, wait. What do you know about chimpanzees? Sorry. I know I'm all over the place, but listen. Are you familiar with Travis the chimp?
I am not.
Travis the chimp was a chimpanzee owned by an owner in Florida. For many years, she kept him, and she brought people to come meet Travis, and she charged admission to come see the chimpanzee. And as he got older, he became more aggressive. His handler started giving him Xanax and Valiums and Klonopin to keep him passive during these interactions with various public figures and whatnot that would take place. Travis went apeshit one day and ripped off his trainer's face and arms. And they had to kill Travis. And it was a big stink in Florida about why are people keeping these animals? Until later, when it was uncovered that the chimpanzee had been on Xanax and Valium for years, and the vets had recently changed their mechanisms of dosing. And so it all had to be redone, and she ran out of Xanax and Valium. and then Travis killed her. I don't think it was a problem with the chimp. I think it was a problem with the handler. Anyway, I'm sorry I interrupted you. What were you saying?
No, you're good. You're good. Now I'm thinking about chimpanzees. No. That's is good. You didn't interrupt me. It's kind of the flow here, though. Anyway, right?
It just kind of bounces.
Yeah. So, about Jar Jar.
Jar Jar, right? If Jar Jar is not a Dark Lord of the Sith, he is hands down the luckiest bastard in multiple galaxies.
Agreed.
I think it is more Sith-like. The way he met Qui-Gon and Anakin is probably the most Sith thing that he did.
Well, he if you watch that movie again, pay attention to he gets his ass saved by those two in so many ways that it seems like he's just lucky. But I think I agree with you there. I think that he's what he's doing is masterfully manipulating them into doing his bidding while thinking it's their own idea.
I call it the drunken master Sith style.
Yeah.
They are doing the actual Force abilities that he is taking advantage of. If he's using the Force at all, first of all, something to keep in mind from Legends material, which is where the prequels would have come from as far as like the laws of the Star Wars universe, the Legends material, Sith could not be perceived by the Jedi. The Jedi were simply blind to it. The only way they could notice a Sith's activity was a lack of activity in the Force.
Well, that's why Anakin was so important. See, when people forget when they talk about balance to the Force, they're talking about balancing the light and the dark. They're not talking about supremacy of one over the other, right?
Right,
So,
balance. Right.
Yeah. So the reason that the Jedi couldn't perceive the Sith was because they blinded themselves to the dark side.
They completely cut themselves off from the dark side to such a freaking extent that they were left with literally nothing they could see except for light side effects.
Yeah. And
Right.
and I think that that's a perfect recipe for manipulation. That's how Sidious got into place without them ever realizing who he was.
Yeah. And if you go back into some of the Legends material and you look into how Palpatine became, or actually, no, it's the thing. Anakin became Darth Vader, right? Hey, Grim Reaper, welcome in. You can make the argument that up until a certain point, you might debate on where that point is, that Anakin was a legitimate Jedi. He was full on, not falling, straight up, balls to the wall, doing this stuff.
I think there's some wiggle room on that argument, but yeah.
All right, yeah, but the argument is still there. While you can debate on where the fall takes place when he met Padme, which was even before he became a Jedi, which is an issue.
Sure.
I get this is a problem.
There's all kinds of problems with that, but yeah.
But there's a line he drops in the movie that's so fucking classic. Are you an angel? Because I've seen angels like you in my dreams.
Yeah,
God, what a pickup line, baby.
Kid had game at like 8 years old.
Game, Bo.
No, but we're with Anakin, like if you get past the legend stuff into like the Dave Filoni stuff, for example, the Clone Wars, you watch how Anakin behaves throughout the Clone Wars series. He is not behaving like a Jedi at all. At all. He does not live like a Jedi.
Also, hold on. There's another layer here that a lot of people miss. And I'm not saying you missed it. I'm just saying that it hasn't brought up. What's up, West Side Accountability? Good to see you, bud. Glad I stayed on an extra few minutes. Anakin in Clone Wars equates all of his enemies with clankers. He doesn't see them as people no more than the sand people.
Yeah.
When he wipes out Mustafar, he was just doing a job, boo. just punching the clock as far as he was concerned.
Yeah, there was something broken inside that guy.
Right. Okay, so he was a slave. He gets raised from being a slave to being one of the most elite fighters ever developed by a galactic republic.
And from there, he becomes the number 2 authority in the galaxy.
Uh-huh. That doesn't seem like a coincidence to me. That seems like somebody might have planned that shit before he came here.
Right. You know, and that's what I'm saying, man. It's like the force itself took a hand in this. Like they talk about midichlorians, they talk about like the Immaculate Conception of Anakin.
How much have you read on Palpatine and his master?
Not as much as a lot of other people have. I kind of dipped out of Star Wars a while back, but from what I understand,
I take it you have not heard the tale of Darth Plagueis.
No. I've heard the cliff notes. Let me put it that way.
A powerful Jedi he could have been. A deep Darth, in fact. Shall I continue the voice?
Go for it.
He was so powerful that he could influence the midichlorians themselves to produce life. This individual that we're talking about spent 6 weeks on Tatooine searching for just the right female test subject.
So what you're getting at here, if I'm reading this correct, is that it was Darth Plagueis who set the seeds of Anakin's birth in motion.
But not just Anakin.
Of course not.
He was looking for, quote unquote, the perfect test subject. He took like 26, 29, something like that. He does his thing and pays them. This is something that's always bothered me about this whole thing. It's the reason why I don't think people make this connection directly, and they failed to do so. He did a whole bunch of these experiments where he created life he made women pregnant without sex, basically. Immaculate conceptions type stuff. Most of them didn't go to term. A few of them did, but weren't force sensitive. Plagueis died before Anakin was born. He never got to follow up. And there's no direct proof that Anakin is a direct product of that particular experiment, because he was a Damask Incorporated owner. He was so wealthy that he did not see the point in owning slaves when you could pay them enough to do whatever the hell you wanted to anyway. So these slaves that he impregnated were all paid enough to buy themselves into freedom. And Shri was still a slave.
All right. Yeah, I could see that. If again, going back to, the Force itself trying to set things right, perhaps Anakin was a direct response to those experiments.
Could have been. Yeah, no, that's been my argument the whole time. And I'm actually impressed that you jumped straight onto that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So saith the Grey Jedi.
Yeah. And if that was the case, but I mean, like I said, Anakin's purpose from the Force itself, not from the Jedi, not from the Sith, was to balance the Force, was to be the bridge between the light and the dark.
Right? Hey, hold on 1 second. I need to. Hey, Ron, dude, I don't give anybody, none of my mods, permission to block anyone at any point without at least poking me in the side a little bit first. I have 3 mods that are capable of blocking people randomly. Swiss Miz and 2 people y'all have never seen in chat. And so like that wasn't me, dude. That's all I'm saying. I didn't do that. Glad to have you back though, dude. I'm gonna try to get the Frauditor. What's his name? The Frauditor Destroyer. I'm trying to get Hazukai in for I would appreciate it if my auditor buddies didn't come in too hard on him. Just a little bit. I'm trying to get an eclectic group here, babe. That's what I'm working on. Go ahead, Bo. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. But I think Anakin was supposed to be the bridge that was balanced. Not that he was the balance being brought to the Force, not that he would bring it. And I think that he did. What happened with at that time. So when he's rising up in the ranks of the Jedi, right at that time, the Jedi Council basically ran things in the same way that the papacy did in Europe in the Middle Ages. They weren't technically the government, but everybody answered to them. Everybody looked to them. Right.
Towards the end of the Republic, yes.
Yes.
A few years before that whole thing with the Clone Wars, no.
Right.
So they were extremely well respected. And under 99% of cases, if the Jedi showed up at your house and was like, your child is showing Force sensitivity, the parents willingly gave up their kid for Jedi training.
Sure. But listen, if at that time, obviously they couldn't see this shit themselves, but if they were led to the conclusion that there was like a dark side power rising in any location, right, what did they do? What was their response?
Actually, in Legends, or are we talking like current canon?
Probably Legends. I know more about that than I do
in Legends. Depending on whether it was something that could leave the planet or was stuck on the planet, if it was stuck on the planet, they cauterized the area around it and left it there, much like the cave on Dagobah. If it could leave the planet, they eradicated it.
Right. That right there. Does that sound like balance to you?
No.
That sounds like light side supremacy.
I agree. But if you look back to the rule of two, that was basically Bane's major argument on why there can't be a million Sith running around like there are Jedi. Because something to keep in mind, the Jedi of the Council and the Jedi Knights and the Jedi Padawans of the Council were not the only Jedis in the galaxy.
Yeah.
There were also the Gray Jedis, the Antarian Rangers were some of my favorite ones. The not quite Jedis.
Right.
Dude, some of those guys could have been full-on knights, full-on council members, but chose not to and carried a blaster instead. They were bad bitches. Like Boba wouldn't even approach them. He had nothing to do with them.
Yeah, but you also had guys like the Sentinels who weren't acknowledged, but they certainly were working for the council, but they were like deep cover. Nobody knew who they were.
Well, I'm talking about the Antarian Rangers.
Yeah.
Right. Some of them were deep cover. Most of them were simply support troops that stood backstage and waited patiently to be needed. And most of them didn't have huge, enormous force powers. The thing is about it, you never fucking knew. You might come face to face with one of these guys and that cracker snatch out a lightsaber and work your ass over like a professional. And they might not.
Wasn't there a group of assassin Siths?
Yeah.
That weren't really Siths?
Kind of.
Time period. We're going to need at least the 10,000 year window.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yes, at certain points.
Right. So, but all this is leading up to what I'm getting at is, so when Palpatine gives the Order 66, right? Clone troopers turn on their Jedi handlers, right? They get hunted down by the 501st and by Palpatine's instrument of destruction, Darth Vader. Right? So
there's one more layer before you go further. I want you to take this into account. He had the what do they call themselves? The Inquisitors, which was a secret school of Sith he had been training the whole time. That never even raised their ugly heads above water until after Order 66 had happened, and there were only 24 rogue Jedi running around the galaxy.
Right,
but
at that point, the numbers had kind of balanced out. So what Vader had done with Order 66, and while Palpatine believed it to be his plan, I believe that it was the Force working through Palpatine to release the Jedi's chokehold on power.
Mandatory's got it right. Palpatine broke Bane's law. Bane wrote a law. His law was, and it's not really well explained why he believed this, You explained it way better in the past 5 minutes than the entire freaking book does. But basically, the way he saw it is the light side at the time of his taking on the mantle of Darth. The light side and the dark side both comprised hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of different individual warriors, all of them at different skill levels and doing all kinds of crazy shit, just all willy-nilly as shit. The end of the light dark battle between the Sith, the Brotherhood of the Sith, and the Army of Light brought the entire thing into a level of balance. The Jedi that were left, there were a bunch of them, but none of them were very powerful. They were all third, fourth, fifth string Jedi that were probably knights and not actually masters. And Bane, an actual full-on Darth master of the Sith, like full-on Sithinated. He and his physical anatomy comprised enough negative force power to counteract all of the Jedi that existed at that point in time. They could have all jumped on him at the same time and he fucked them up.
Sure.
It's because he realized that the force always seeks balance. And the only way to force this force into a dark side win was by depriving the force of dark side energy, which left them more dark side energy to fuck with on a day-to-day basis without getting caught.
Sure. But they also, like, at that point had by the time that the Old Republic had reached its peak and all that stuff, and nobody had heard from the Sith in like 1,000 years or whatever. Didn't mean they weren't out there. It just meant that nobody knew who they were, where they were. People stopped believing in them, kind of thing. They only thought the Jedi were a thing. And when the Order 66 came down, they started hunting down the Jedi. First thing Anakin does, right, is go to the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and murder all of the young Padawans.
As far as a dark act to sacrosanct yourself into the dark halls of the Sith, that's a good one.
Yeah, and it's not even the first time he committed genocide, but
it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, how much do you know about what was her name? Shit, the sand person chick that became a Jedi.
Oh, not much. I think I read something about her in the comic books, but way back when Dark Horse was pumping those out like crazy.
Oh God, yes. She witnessed Anakin wiping out that village. She felt him coming in the darkness, woke up in the middle of the night, screamed, and ran out of the tent into the freaking desert. And people followed her going, "What are you doing? Why are you running? You'll die out there." And she screamed, "He's coming," and then went and buried herself in the sand in hopes that he wouldn't find her.
Well, he didn't.
He did.
So
he stood over her, on top of her, and stared down at her, knowing she was a dark side force user, and spared her for that reason.
Indeed.
Wow. Because one day you might be bad enough to try to come seek vengeance, and I hope you do. That's why he left her alive.
That, by the way, that's not a light side move. That is a dark side move. That is a Sith master move. Yeah.
But still, yeah, no, that's well before he actually, quote unquote, falls to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
I would say that that's probably the first major step right there. Was when he wiped out that village.
Okay. Padme, his belief that she was an angel and that he had seen angels in his dreams, that was his first step, because it is something he wished to possess, a desire he could not divest himself of.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit there. See, I think that the Jedi rules on fraternization with the opposite sex, in general, I think the reason that those were in place was because they feared the possibility that it could lead to dark side things. But it
Legends covers a little bit more on why the Jedi frowned on that stuff. They really didn't have an issue with sexual activity. They had an issue with families. You could go out and knock up anybody you wanted to.
Sure, divided loyalties.
Go check on it.
Yeah, sure. That because that creates divided loyalties. They wanted their
What's
nice
up, new guru?
loyalties.
Welcome to the show, bud. We're up late. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah. So, but no, I get that. But like I'm saying, when Anakin goes and he wipes out all the young Padawans, right, and then he proceeds to march through the galaxy for years, hunting down Jedi that got away and that sort of thing. He obviously doesn't get all of them because Yoda survives, Obi-Wan survives.
In Legend series, all right. So you get this impression from the movies that he was like knees bent directly to the Emperor all the time, never questioning his judgment, right?
Mm-hmm.
In Legends, he would regularly go rogue to go hunt down a particular Jedi that he had heard a story about somewhere. He would go and wipe out an entire freaking continent. He would orbitally bombard a planet because he heard there was a Jedi there. Genocides was the least of your worry when dealing with his ass. He'd glass your shit.
Yeah.
I mean, dark side be damned. That was fucking evil. He's like, oh, there might be a Jedi on the planet. Pfft, we don't have time for all that searching shit. Let's just kill them all. And you know what the fucking clones did? They're dead. Congratulations. There's no Jedi on that planet.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is like they Palpatine and the 501st specifically, and yet to a degree, the Inquisitors, and even to another degree, I would say Starkiller.
All right, Starkiller is a hard one to define because I don't think we have enough of his story to really decide where he stood on it.
Yeah, that's because the people who took over decided to throw that to the side, and then recently decided, oh, he's canon again, but they still, we don't have that information.
He's still wishy-washy as fuck. And I'm just saying this from the perspective of someone who I read everything Star Wars. I don't care if I like it or don't. I don't know why.
Yeah, but
like the same thing for the Wheel of Time and for like Dune. So
yeah, but he was considered canon in the OG for a while there, and he was also an example of Vader directly disobeying not only the rule of two, but Palpatine directly, who had ordered him not to take on an apprentice ever.
Do not. Her name's not Vadme. Vespir or something like I can't remember.
Oh yeah,
she was a bad bitch. She ends up being all right. So the later movies combine two characters into Ben. Like there's the actual dark side Force user who becomes Darth Caedius, which is one son of Han Solo. And then there's Ben Skywalker, who is a son of Jada and Mara Jade and Luke Skywalker. Ben reveres his cousin Jason. Jason becomes Darth Caedius. Darth Caedius adopts Ben as his apprentice without ever telling Ben. So Ben learns a bunch of dark force power shit before he ever becomes a Jedi of any description.
Sure.
On the other end of this equation is one of I can't remember if it's Mara's kid. I think it's one of Han Solo's kids, Anakin. Named him Anakin after his grandfather. When the Vong come and take over the galaxy, Anakin leads a strike force of Jedi Knights directly to the heart of the world sphere to try to eliminate the threat before it can get started. But he explains to the other guys in the group, this is a suicide mission and we're all fucked. But if we don't do it, everyone else is fucked too. and the entire team went, well, shit, I guess that kind of decides it for us. And they win. There's this one scene in that particular book where Anakin makes a realization that there is no difference between light and dark side. There is merely the amount that you use of each, and he connects them together to create a force bomb and disappears in a flash of fucking light. He's like, wait a second. World ship's done.
Yeah, that's there's another theory that bringing balance to the Force did not mean that Anakin was the balance, but that his children and grandchildren were.
I'm sorry I missed that. I was reading Cats. It's weird. It took more concentration than I thought it would. And yes, there are gray Jedi and there are Antarian Rangers, and you can make whatever arguments you like, Carrie. I've read those books. You're not proving that you have. That's all I'm saying. They're all on YouTube if you go looking hard enough.
And you get into
I've
some
not
other
read
stuff.
any of them.
I've read a few here and there. Mostly, I read the comics when I was younger. I was a big fan of Tales of the Jedi, for example, the tale of Exar Kun and the brothers Keldroma.
Exar Kun, man.
Exar Kun is he's my favorite Sith ever.
Darth Magnus.
Yeah,
come on, man.
I have a stupid question for you guys. If they were able to make clones, why didn't they just clone a Jedi so all the clones would have powers from the Force?
You want this, or should I take it?
Go ahead.
All right. So if you attempt to clone a person with Force abilities, the same static that occurs when you clone a normal person takes place. But with a Jedi, it is literally a feedback effect. When Sayaboth cloned Luke Skywalker, he created Dark Skywalker. And because Luke Skywalker had never known anything of vengeance or evil or dark side type powers other than being affected by it, and Dark Skywalker had only ever known dark powers, Luke was able to defeat him through the power of love.
Sure. But there's a slight continuity problem with that, because we know that the reason that Palpatine survived was because the Force rotted his body. The dark side of the Force rotted his body within about 4 years. So he had to take a new clone body every 4 years. So this is again in the books.
You just answered your own question. A new clone body. These bodies were not allowed to reach any type of consciousness before his consciousness entered them.
Sure, they were empty vessels, but they still had to have like his specific DNA and whatnot, which meant that they were Force sensitive. They just had no consciousness.
Sayaboth looked into the future and saw Luke coming, used the Empire's database of DNA to clone Luke and raise him from a child as a normal person inside a non-Force environment. It was a non-Force bubble with a dark side bubble inside it. And that's how he raised this clone separate from Luke's awareness or even his Force awareness. Also, I mean, we could get into the Isalamiri conversation if we wanted to.
Well, I would be, there were other dark side users besides the Sith too. I mean, look at the Night Sisters of
Dathomir. Yeah, exactly. But here's the thing, though. Yet again, the Jedi blinded themselves to dark Force powers specifically because they refused to look in that direction for fear of being tainted by it. So they didn't know anything more about the Dathomir sisters. In fact, Jason was probably the first of the Jedi to go willingly into the Dathomir conclave.
Sure.
Yeah.
He
also went and communed with the Wills, but that's a whole nother ballgame. I'm sorry.
I would say, with the Sith, typically the seeds of their destruction are sown with their own hubris and their own ambition, right? Typically.
Yes.
With the Jedi, it's fear.
Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to the dark side. Yes, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Although with different, like for instance, You see, you can't take that approach without going to a particular Jedi that fell and going, okay, well, here's what caused the fall, right?
Well, see, that's why I was saying about the Jedi Council. You know, when the reason that they couldn't sense Palpatine coming was because they had blinded themselves to the dark side, as we know, and the reason they did that was because they feared being corrupted by it.
Right.
Right. It was their fear of corruption that ultimately opened the door to that very corruption destroying them.
It was the fear of that corruption that led to the lack of knowledge that led to their destruction, because they were so afraid the dark side would infiltrate them just through the knowledge of its existence.
Yeah, that they let it walk through the front fucking door.
For 1,000 years, for 3,000 years, they refused to investigate any supposed dark side occurrences, although they would occasionally catch these flashes of null light. Places where things weren't force happening, you know, like Naboo.
Right. Right. Yeah. Of all the backwaters in all the galaxy, right? I hate that fucking planet.
Dude, it's funny to me that Naboo drops off the map completely immediately after that movie.
Aside from Palpatine and Padme, it holds no significance unless, going back to the beginning of this, Jar Jar is in fact the ultimate Sith.
Harry, the Night Witches are in no way directly associated with the Sith, other than having learned a few powers from them occasionally. Whenever they captured one and ate him.
Yeah, they didn't hold any truck with those guys either.
Ate him physically. Yeah, no, they were both using dark side powers, but the Night Sisters utilized dark side powers derived directly from the planet they lived on, whereas the Sith derived their dark side powers from the teachings of an ancient extinct race that learned them on their planet that they lived on.
Who were in fact actually the Sith.
Yeah,
the species of the Sith are long extinct. Their descendants
the ones that look
became
more
the
like
Massassi.
me with the Barables and
but they ended up becoming the Massassi, who built all the temples on Yavin 4 that you see in Return of the Jedi, which is also where Luke builds his Jedi temple in the future.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, but the Sith themselves had long been destroyed in the ancient wars when the Sith were many.
Right. And then, I mean, there's a whole other timeline we could go back and argue about as far as whether or not, you know, the balance of light and dark and the gray Jedis and the argument and all of that. We could look at the hyperspace wars and see exactly the same formula play out. At first,
the same story plays out over and over. Yeah,
they fought each other down until there was only a few of each. The very next generation of Siths and Jedis were immensely powerful.
Well, that's why it's also why, and the wording is important here, they call them Dark Lords of the Sith, because it was a group of dark side users who took over the Sith planet and subjugated those people.
Oh yeah.
You know, they were not Sith themselves, they were the lords of the Sith.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite comparisons in all of Star Wars, and I'm going to end this stream on all of this right here. I'll let everybody get their say, but the Sith were a race of people who took it directly upon themselves to expound the Force throughout the galaxy. They were a race of beings who were both light and dark sensitive, and eradicated the light sensitive side of their society and went forth upon the galaxy to destroy it. But they didn't believe so much in family lines as they did in force sensitivity lines, and therefore they adopted other species into their culture, specifically because they were force sensitive and powerful. Right?
Yeah.
The Mandalorians take on exactly the same approach to their lines. They will adopt any race out there capable of defending themselves against mass onslaught, provided they stood the course of battle through the whole time of their life. You can be adopted by a Mandalorian too, but as soon as you are, you put on the Beskar and the Gam and you walk the walk, because you don't do it otherwise. You're not born a Mandalorian. You can be, and you have armor, and you'll go take it and stuff it in your fucking barn over there and go be a farmer. But when the shit hits the fan as a Mandalorian, you go pick up your armor and you deal with that shit. When the shit hits the fan as a Sith, you roll up your carpets and take your homies home.
Yep.
That's why the Sith died and the Mandalorians survived.
Well, I think the Mandalorians survived. I'm not convinced that the Mandalorians survived. The culture survives, but the Mandalorians themselves, the beings native to Mandalore,
The native Mandalorians,
they died too often in battle for them to be, viable as a species. But their culture allowed them to recruit.
Adoption.
Yeah.
When you are adopted by a Mandalorian, it supersedes all other family ties you have. If you accept that adoption, you take on that individual's armor style, you take on his weapon style, you take on their motto and motif.
Yeah. That's why you got guys like Candelus Ordo, who's clearly
right.
But he becomes Mandalore, and he does it because he's dedicated to that life.
Fucking Revan, dude.
Yeah.
Dude. He's all right. No, we'll get to that in a minute. All right. We're going to end it right here. I'm going to drop backstage. I'm going to bring up my. Wait, that's not who I thought it was. What's up, bud? Huh? I thought you were mandatory coming in here. My bad. I should have checked. I apologize. What's up, brother?
What's up, big dog? I'm just panel walking these YouTube streets.
Are we doing a panel horde night? I'm drinking.
There was a StreamYard link. So yeah.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. I'm not. You're in here often enough. I'll let you up, bro. What you eating?
Peanut butter jelly.
Awesome. I wish I could eat peanut butter.
You can't?
I'm allergic to legumes, beans, peanut butter, Brussels.
That sucks.
Sprouts.
They're in a lot of things.
Oh, dude. Most vegetable oils I can't eat at most fast food joints, but like once a week or so because it gets itchy. You got anything you want to tell everybody before I dip out? We're going backstage. Are you trying to be public or private?
I don't care.
Hey,
I'll
Graham,
just leave you with this.
Give me a wiggle.
Pro tip. I'm going to improve everyone's lives. You don't need to spread your peanut butter and jelly on the bread and punch holes through. Just throw it on like a taco. Stripe a peanut butter down the middle, spoonfuls of jelly, roll it. You're good. There you go. That's all I got.
Fantastic. Grim, you got anything to say?
What the hell is peanut butter jelly?
He has no idea.
Listen, mate,
I didn't hear
I'm from
that.
the UK.
Maybe for the best.
What would I know what that is? Are you talking about jam? What we call jam?
I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, when you talk about jelly to me is what you get out of the fridge. After
NorCal, I'm gonna have to see something. I don't know you from Adam's house, cat, bro.
Yeah, right. No,
Technically, it's preserves, I guess.
That's it, preserves. Yeah. Why would you ruin the taste of peanut butter with preserve?
I'm gonna go opposite way here, man, because I don't like peanut butter. I can eat it, I just don't like it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna
I
pile
don't
on
feel
as
that I
much
need to
jelly as
dignify that
possible.
question with an answer.
Bloody typical.
You know what's really good?
Sandwiches.
I'm sorry, NorCal. I don't know who you are until I see something reasonable on your street. I'm not bringing you on a public stream. I'm sorry.
You know what's really good?
And I'll bring you up. We can talk to you. We can decide all of that.
What?
I got somebody age I don't know. Go ahead.
Peanut butter and chocolate frosting sandwiches. They're freaking delicious.
I bet it is good.
You're on to something there, bud.
They're good. They're real good.
That's the fattest thing I've heard all week.
Hello, Mr. Bean. I recognize you.
Oh my God, my wife's been put on a diet by her doctor, and so by default, I'm on that diet because I cook everything because I'm allergic to stuff, so I have to cook everything. Right?
What kind of diet?
It's low sodium, low fat type stuff. You know that whole thing,
bullshit.
which is generally the way I eat anyway. Lots of fish, lots of bacon, anything to remove as much of the just general grody-ness of meat. You know, I like lean meat. I'll eat steak and stuff like that, provided it's not too fatty. I love deer meat.
Isn't fat
Hey,
good for you now though? They changed that.
hey man, I
They
mean,
don't know
like,
what they're talking about.
they don't.
Frankly.
But here's the thing: she wants to do a diet. It's a diet that's going to cause me to go from 200 to 170. I'll take it.
Sure.
I don't have to
Tell her
argue
to have her
whether.
daughter give her Adderall instead of a diet instructions.
I'm just saying, I would much rather not weigh 500 fucking pounds if I could help it.
Yeah, I could see that, but I'm also seeing a bunch of people eating a ton of red meat.
All right, y'all.
and
Tell
real
you what,
butter.
I'm gonna talk to this dude backstage. I'm fixing to end the broadcast. Y'all have an absolutely lovely evening. Y'all be cool.